Well, I tell you, this civil war that the globalists are trying to start in this country has gone from smoldering to explosive. We've got all these clips of top Democrats on television, on MSNBC, on CNN, at Hollywood award shows, Rob Reiner on Friday, saying we're in a civil war. And we're fighting Nazis, and we're fighting Russian agents. And they know it's a fraud. They're just branding their opposition as that because they are a dying party. Well, last time I had these guys in, we just kind of ranted and raved about Antifa intimidating people and working for Soros and trying to go around, pointing guns at people and stuff. And I, in customary fashion, talked to everybody. But I've invited the guys back to actually get into what a civil war that went hot would look like, the different factions that could basically break out, because these guys won't get into their backgrounds, but they have specialties in that maybe 1/10 of 1% of people in the military have had. So we're going to be discussing how Tier 1 military operators, from their research, their view as citizens, think this is going to go down. Because the Democrats have decided to get violent, and they said they have. And through their channels, they announced the violence. And then when we pointed out, they have Media Matters, again, the mouth of Sauron, the mouth of Soros, say it's insane, it doesn't exist, none of it's happening. Classic military tactic. So that's all coming up in the second hour. Roger Stone is going to be in the third hour. It is all coming up today. And, of course, we have the great Jack Posobiec as well hosting the fourth hour, then the War Room with Owen Schroyer. Stephen Bannon, complete snake in the grass the entire time. Very, very saddened by that. He now is a darling on CNN, and they talk about how wonderful he is. Remember, he was the white supremacist leader just a few months ago, but now he's wonderful. And, oh, he says that the hashtag #MeToo will bring down Trump. And they just build this crescendo, burning a few of their own Hollywood people, as I predicted 6 months ago, and then create this wave and say, well, Trump's got to go. And it's about civil war culturally between men and women. So that's coming up today. And then meanwhile, Aetna, one of the biggest insurance companies in the world, serving $23 million just here in the U.S. alone, who helped write Obamacare to make you pay for it so they can increase the prices. That's a dream of these big corporations. You want to know who runs the planet? It's the big banks that own the insurance companies, or vice versa. And Aetna's right up there at the top of the capstone. Their top technician, top CEO came out and said, look, we don't even look at your requests when they come in for surgery or whatever. And then it's a big firestorm. Oh, California's investigating. What do you mean you don't even look at it? And they go, well, don't worry about that. We'll tell you once we have congressional hearings. And they're going to use this as a way to roll out that it's computers, so they're so fair. In fact, here's a headline, CNN, California launches investigation following stunning admission by Aetna medical director. Now, here's the real news from CNN, getting it occasionally right from what earlier this year. The computer that decides if we live or die. You see, they started it out about 9 years ago, strangely enough, when Obama got in. Say what you want about Bush, he didn't put that in, where it's not even bioethics boards of doctors that decide who lives and dies with a mix of hospital or company administrators. But you've got to have a doctor signing off on the death warrant. It's the Thomas Watson computer. And you cannot make up the richness of that little sweetheart. Remember, they want major halls changed from Lynch Hall, even though in several cases it was liberals that donated money and last name was the Irish name Lynch, because it sounds like lynching, that mental illness. But then you can have it called the Thomas Watson computer that decides who lives and dies, when he invented the first computers to do the same thing in German death camps, on record. So see, people are scared the name Lynch has nothing to do with lynching. And but a computer's actually named after the guy that got the highest award in Nazi Germany, Thomas Watson, the creator of computers. And then a machine named after him carries out Nazi tactics against veterans. All right, you don't want to miss this broadcast. We've got Tier 1 Patriot operators who don't want to even get into what they've done and do in the military and for other organizations. Today when they come in, they're going to be here to talk about the Second Amendment and a lot more. But I'm going to try to get them to talk about what things will look like in their research view, not from a classified perspective of COG, but from just a citizen perspective, with the left out there calling for total civil war, and now saying that they've put us into a civil war and preparing to up the amount of violence that they've already engaged in. So that's in the second hour. We'll intersperse a lot of breaking news, obviously. Third hour, Roger Stone will be in studio with me, co-hosting right into the fourth hour with Jack Posobiec, another great patriot here. The big news is that Hezbollah out of Iran has used the fact that the U.S. has begun to pull out of most areas of Syria to begin moving up to the border with Israel, and has shot down one of their aircraft and had drones and other aircraft coming over their airspace. Israel has reasonably struck back against bases where Hezbollah was attacking from and has begun large bombing runs and is now threatening basically to attack Iran itself if they don't back down. Iran has come out and said that this is a new strategic era and that they'll do whatever they want, basically. Iran UAV that entered Israel airspace seems to be an American stealth knockoff. That is just some of the news. Meanwhile, billionaire George Soros has already donated billions to overthrow European sovereignty. And just the last week, he donated 500,000 pounds and now another 100,000 pounds to try and derail Brexit. American investor defies critics to take total spent on keeping UK and EU to over 500,000 pounds. And how is he, a weird Eastern European Nazi collaborator, involved in our politics and involved in sovereign politics in the UK, and then he's the one funding this baloney that all of us that want U.S. sovereignty or lower taxes are Russian agents? He is the communist. He has been the socialist, who, of course, is tax-exempt and used mega wealth to control people, as it always is. So that's simply incredible. We're going to be getting into that. Billionaires and athletes freeze as Winter Olympics have record low temperatures. Also, Vice airs documentary on black healing retreats for people who need a break from white people. I talked about this last week. We had the clips. We never got to them. Now it's a big national news story. But I'm going to air some of that in the third hour with Roger Stone. They actually say white people shouldn't have any rights and shouldn't be allowed to travel, and I don't like seeing them. And they go, well, you leased this property for your black retreat from a white person. Well, that's okay. You talk about what the public schools and the media have done, turning some black people into beyond KKK. I mean, the KKK isn't calling for black people not being able to have passports or move around freely. It is truly Naziistic. You know, the Nazis control where you could go and what you could do. It is unbelievable. But it's like the left saying, oh, we're getting all these people organized, these professors and MSNBC. We played the clips last week. We're going to block the military parade that Trump wants to have because he's going to invade New York or invade D.C., depending on where they have it. That's not troops invading. That's a parade. That's not Tiananmen Square. Tiananmen Square, again, was communists coming and attacking civil rights activists, protesters who were peacefully speaking out for free speech. Amazing. Bunch of communists, a bunch of socialists now saying, oh, we're going to lay in front of the tanks like the heroes at Tiananmen Square. You're the left on the campus trying to bar our free speech. You're the left trying to go after the veterans. You're the people saying we shouldn't be able to have a parade. And by the way, I think Trump should have a parade because the globalists don't want us to have one. I'm against a police state. I'm against martial law. I'm against civil war. It's the Democrats calling for a civil emergency, calling for martial law, calling for overthrowing the election, calling for banning free speech and doing it at campuses all over the country as they admit they are, banning Halloween parties, banning costume parties, banning fiesta parties, banning everything to have total control. And then they point their fingers at us and they say that we're the fascists. No, I support our military because our military is one of the most awake groups to the globalist threat, and the globalists want to get control of our military to use it against us, and it's key that we totally engage the military and wake the military up so they understand that duty, and they understand it better than we do on average. That's why it's a natural ally with the American people is our military, and they want to drive a wedge there. They're the folks that love killing cops. They're the people that hate the military, that hate flyover country, that admittedly hate this nation. But now Hollywood are the ones telling you how all of us that are America firsters, all of us trying to take the sabotage controls off the country, trying to end the globalist sabotage, we're the traitors. Total bull. The Dow's jumped 307 points as stocks bounce back from their worst week in 2 years. We're going to get into all of that. But first, little Stephen Bannon, who's proven himself to be a classic Benedict Arnold in the vein of Judas Iscariot, or Brutus, has slithered out and is giving interviews to CNN and others saying Hashtag Me Too, he thinks will bring Trump down. Oh, what a tactical genius you are. It was set up 6 months ago. The Democrats admitted that they were unpopular with women because of all the rape connections to the Clintons and the cover-ups and the Lolita Express and all the raping and the children and all the rest of it. So as a facelift, they started burning a few of their own, and now he says women need to take charge of society, a classic globalist talking point by the big multinationals who want to use you as a wedge to further break up the country. Hitler said first you get the women, then you got the children, so follow the men. Hitler targeted women, told them they were in charge. So the whole issue here is that this is classical advertising. 80% of advertising targets women. And he's playing into that whole leftist talking point saying this will bring down Trump, he believes, on his belly like a little goblin creature, dragging it like a little snake in front of them, hoping to be relevant again. Truly, truly sickening by the Hollywood screenwriter who posed as a patriot, but he was always a globalist leftist, we now learn. Let's go to that clip.
Paperback release of the new book, you talk about watching the Golden Globe Awards with Steve Bannon, and you got his reaction to the red carpet protests supporting the Me Too movement. He said, quote, "The anti-patriarchy is going to undo 10,000 years of recorded history. You watch, the time has come. Women are going to take charge of society, and they couldn't juxtapose a better villain than Trump. He is the patriarch. This is a definitional moment in the culture. It'll never be the same going forward."
You know, I think Bannon, despite all his flaws, is a pretty shrewd analyst of American politics, and particularly American political anxieties, our national anxieties. And he recognized in those Golden Globe Awards that this was a movement that could potentially be an existential threat to Republicans, not just their majority in the House, but also to President Trump. And there's a wonderful, revealing moment of Freudian angst in the scene, as I described Bannon watching Oprah, where he says, look, if they were to roll out a guillotine right now, these ladies would chop off every set of balls in the room, which is a blunt Bannon way of saying, essentially, you know, this Me Too movement, they're coming for our manhood. And I think that expressed a lot of the anxieties that Bannon, that Trump, that people of that political persuasion have about this new rising movement of women, which is really a backlash to the man that Bannon calls the patriarch, Trump himself.
All right, let's decipher that complete, absolute bull. Remember, we told you, it was actually 8 months ago, that the whole Me Too thing was a deal to bring down Trump. That was obvious. They now admit that was. And Al Franken said, I shouldn't have resigned because none of them are resigning. I shouldn't have been, agreed to this to be the sacrificial lamb. So that's what's going on. What's happening is multinationals know they've taken the country over. They want to divide us from each other. Hillary was supposed to get in, and in any criticism, it wouldn't be that you're racist like it was with Obama. Now is going to be you're sexist and you don't like Hillary. And they're still going with that. She says that every time she opens her mouth. So they're just still playing the very same playbook they had. That's why they had Law and Order and Homeland and all these shows already produced where there's a woman president. And now they try to assassinate her. And she goes from being Hillary to now she's a bad Trump person. So all of this is propaganda, just basting emotional people, men, women, you name it. And then men, cucks, are supposed to signal to women, oh, I know we're bad, you're in charge. Here, you go work and you bring me food and I'll sit her on the couch. And then, of course, she leaves you in about a year because you're a cuck. I mean, it's amazing. That's not what women are looking for. And so this is total fraud. This is scientific warfare, the attack on the family, all of it. And that's all that is. And now the little cuck, Bannon, is scared the women are coming to get my testicles. And that's the idea. They're always invoking violence. Hashtag kill Republicans. Women, chop men's genitals off. It's war. Guillotines, cut their heads off. It's all this violent rhetoric. Like Rob Reiner said, we're in the last battle of the Civil War. We were gliding in. We were going to screw America over and break its back forever. But America woke up before we finally slit its throat. And we can't let that happen, Hollywood. We will defeat America. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your host, Alex Jones. So, what have I told you that major insurance companies for more than a decade have been testing and now installing system-wide computers that serve as bioethics boards? Now, first they created bioethics boards in the last 60, 70 years as part of the eugenics movement in Western Europe, the UK, the US, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, you name it, where a board of physicians and then a board of physicians and hospital or corporate executives would decide who gets a liver transplant or who gets a cadaver transplant for an Achilles heel. Sounds reasonable. You're a big drinker. You're 65 years old. There's a young person needs a liver who isn't a big drinker. Not their fault. We're going to give you the liver first. But once you open that door up, now the computers can do whatever they want. That's the famous clip of Bill Gates saying, was it 6, 7 years ago, to the group of teachers, he said, if you don't give that old person that last year of care, you can hire 10 teachers. Well, he knows that's a fraud. When you start cutting quality, everything implodes. You always demand more quality in your civilization. And then that increases the level of service, the level of viability, the level of excellence. And a great example I use, this is well known by economists, by the way, is just 15 years ago, there were almost no nice theaters where you could eat dinner and have a drink. Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, Texas made it ubiquitous, launched it nationwide, and then suddenly 5 years ago, every theater began converting except discount theaters. And now all the old cruddy theaters have a full bar and big, huge, relaxing seats and are better than Alamo. That's what innovation is. But they teach you in a zero-sum game that the cake is only so big, that the pizza is only so big, and that we can't innovate our way out. So there's been a bunch of big headlines out the last day. The big scandal is CNN exclusive. California launches investigation following stunning admission by Aetna medical director. And the Aetna medical director came out and said, we don't look at the reports. And of course, they're setting everybody up. They said, we look forward to testifying in California and to Congress both about this. And of course, I knew what they were going to say. And Aetna's already put out statements to their board. They put out statements to their shareholders. They're going fully to computers. And they're going to use this stunt to say, see, it's not a human deciding who lives and who dies. It's a computer so everybody can wash their hands like Pontius Pilate. And of course, where did it start that computers would decide how much you were fed, how much you were worked, and when you were finally either killed or starved to death? Oh, it was a place called Nazi Germany. And the top right-hand man of Adolf Hitler, who received the highest award in Germany above Hitler, look it up. Just type in Thomas Watson of IBM received the highest award from Hitler. There's photos of him receiving it. It's like some triple Iron Cross with double eagles and all this stuff. But what's key here is IBM leads, and at the VA, runs the Thomas Watson computers that are supposedly AI when it comes to making decisions. And that is who created, that we all discovered 6 years ago, the secret death list on the VA. And I told everybody at the time, by the way, there have been Pulitzer Prize winning books written on this. IBM, the Holocaust, you name it. We've had the authors on. It's a fact. Hitler gave speeches with Watson. I mean, only other person he liked as much was Margaret Sanger, the head of Planned Parenthood. Why she is worshipped on the cover of Time and Newsweek as the best feminist ever. Because she said Heil Hitler. And he said everything he knew from her and David Rockefeller's granddad, who funded him, who funds the Cold Springs Harbor facility today, run by IBM computers. So you need to understand this, and I'm not bashing IBM, the company. I got family that has worked for it. I'm simply pointing out that this is the facts. It's incontrovertible, it's history, and they think you're stupid. So CNN, though, in the last couple of years, and others admitted this, they're leaving it as a mystery right now. The computer that decides if we live or die. A serious injury leaves a loved one in a coma. Relatives may face the hardest decision of their lives, to wait it out or turn off the life support machine. The program may help families decide what action to take if they're critically ill, and it goes on. Here's another one. Probe finds more secret VA wait list in Colorado. Washington Times. Still going on. Trump's trying to stop it. He is. He's made a good effort to do it. Double the amount of appointments that veterans are getting. But there's a culture in there that is very eugenical that blocks that. So here's the facts. You can look up the National Health Service. Paul Watson runs every day, super healthy guy. He got, what was it, strep about 3 years ago. They wouldn't let him see a doctor for a couple months. He almost died coughing up blood. You have to get permission to see another private doctor and then pay a lot more. So it's a two-tier system, and their whole system was designed to collapse. It's always been horrible. It's always been for social control, and now they admit it's collapsing. CNN's headline today was, after 70 years of being a model of goodness, it's collapsing. That's in the news today. After 70 years of universal health care, is the NHS at a crisis point? There's the headline. And then it admits that it's just all falling apart. Oh, they need total control. They need social control now to make you, live the way they say, and then you'll get your health care. So, what did Ezekiel Emanuel say? He said, after we bankrupt health care with Obamacare, which has only increased prices massively, we'll come in with single payer, but it'll still be administered by big insurance companies and then computers. So, I'm going to explain this. AI computers, autonomous computers, decision-making computers is the proper term, are already in control of your life on medical care. They're already, all the new cars coming out, all the upper end are autonomous. So robots are already in 2018 taking your life over. The military admits they're rolling out all these killer robots. But the big killer robots aren't going to be the ones that are out on the battlefield. It's the ones that decide if you live or die, that run the system, that tell you in the megalopolis when you get food, where you work, where you travel, when you get the authorization to travel. It's the nightmare model of the zeitgeist sold to socialists as this wonderful utopia where an all-seeing robot in the sky, an electric eye, runs our life, but who programs it? So there's the rest of the story. And it's total control, it's total evil, and it needs to stop. But they always sell it like, oh, it's just for, if somebody's in a coma. No, it's not. You'll see thousands of cases in the news. I've watched parliamentary debates, even back when Tony Blair was in, he'd admit it, where you could have an operable tumor on your skin, you name it. If you do it within 6 months, they make you wait 2 years and you die. You understand that? Think about that. We're talking about veterans not getting knee surgeries when they get hurt in the military. Here's a cane. This is their model. They're taking your health care away, and now the big globalist, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and others are getting together with Bezos to, quote, save healthcare. And everything they do is taxpayer-funded, tax-exempt boondoggles where they get your tax money on everything they do. Yep, the dark secret at the heart of AI. Even mainline scientists, Elon Musk, you name it. The real white papers by all the brains say this is a nightmare. It's already ubiquitous. It's deadly. Turn back now. But I get up here and tell the public about, 90% of young people have chemicals in their body to give them cancer and change their sex partially. They go, oh, shut up, gay frog man. Shut up. Hey, hope you don't enjoy that cancer, because that's what they admit it's doing to you. We'll be back. All right, I've got massive economic news, huge Winter Olympic news, North Korea news. PBS host compares White House to communist East Berlin when it was always the leftists supporting communism and still supporting North Korea over the weekend, saying they hoped Kim Jong-un's bloodthirsty sister would physically attack the vice president. So that's all coming up. Just amazing. So we're going to be getting to all that. But I wanted to just show this article one more time, because there were a bunch of these last week, and I barely mentioned it, that big new studies are coming out in the UK, the US, Europe, you name it, where 86 to 90+%, depending on which study you look at, of individuals in the United States and in Europe, and we're going to put that article up on screen if we can, please. There it is. Gender-bending chemicals found in plastics and linked to breast and prostate cancer are found in 86% of teenagers' bodies. And it goes on to say they're in adults at even higher levels in some cases. And let's scroll down. I'm going to read part of this article here. Bisphenol A is found along with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other chemicals that in samples of 94 teenagers found 80+ of them had high levels of the chemicals in them. And what do they admit those chemicals do? They admit that they gender bend, and they affect the brain, and they affect how your olfactory nerve smells the different scents that are put off that are part of mammalian activity. And then it manipulates and jacks with that. There's another one, New Scientist, gender-bending chemicals found to feminize boys. Now, that's back in 2005. By the way, that's when I first made the gay frogs comment. And I said nothing against the fact that most of the frogs are gay. The fact is they're sterile and they're dying. They then edited that, then made a joke out of it, to then make sure no one had a serious debate about this. But I keep going back to this because it's such a central issue that now they're coming out admitting all of this. in 2018, but it was already admitted back in 2005, and before, it was only, though, in scholarly journals. So, what's the bottom line here? I personally do things like take Alpha Power that's got natural herbs in it that are known to countervail the effects of this garbage that's in our environment. And I personally also take Super Male Vitality. And people say, well, you've got Anthroplex, you've got Alpha Power, you've got Super Male. Which one do you like the best? They're all different formulas. They all affect things differently. Different people like them better. One person, I mean, here in the office, they're split between the three products. Some people like Super Male better than Alpha Power. People like Alpha Power better than Anthroplex. People like Anthroplex better than Alpha Power. And vice versa. So, we have a his and hers combo running right now at InfoWarsStore.com, where you can get Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality for 40% off to try it. We also are introducing Icarin. Again, natural concentrated herbs, milk thistle, N-acetylcysteine, organic alma fruit, organic, it just goes on, licorice root, organic artichoke leaf, and many more, known to flush out the kidneys and the liver that definitely need that help. It's 50% off out of the gates because I want you to try it and love it and see how amazing it is. But at $19.95, folks, I mean, leading competitors are similar formulas at $50, $60. Normally at $39, it's a good deal. This is an amazing deal. InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, and a new special that's got to end very soon as well. All these specials are ending this week. Introducing the InfoWars Life Daily Digestive Pack, 50% off on Flora-Life, high-quality, probiotic, 15 billion live and active strains, and Carnivore, the enzyme to help absorb fats and proteins better and healthier in your body. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or 888-253-3139. It's your purchase of these products that make it all possible. So, again, I want to thank you all for your support. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Please support our local affiliates as well. But it is so critical that with what's going on in the environment, take X2, the good halogen. They put the bad halogens in the water and in the food. It bioaccumulates. It fries your glands on record, lowers IQs, all the studies. Look it up yourself. And then you take real pure iodine that we've got from deep earth crystal sources. People are completely blown away by what it does. I mean, it is such a game changer. The weight loss, the energy, the stamina, it's crazy. But if you've already got thyroid issues and stuff, everybody should check with their physician before you take it. Even though you die without iodine, they've artificially keep lowering the rate they say you need. The government used to put a crappy form in the salt. Then they took it out because IQs had gone so low. Goiter was so bad across the country, especially in the Midwest because you're not eating seafood. Look that up yourself. 15 IQ boost within just a decade. So look it up. Yes, there's a conspiracy to make us dumb. Okay, I'm done talking about that, but it's very important. InfoWarsStore.com. 10 surprising facts about iodine. Absolutely. Iodine salt gave U.S. 10-year IQ boost, say researchers. See, just I went from memory. And in a 10-year study, it went up 15 points on average. See if my memory serves, or that's the same study. I mean, there's so many of these. I'm not telling you a secret here. To say 15? 15 points. Boom. Boom. My memory served. How old's that article? 2013. And that was from the Centers for Disease Control. Because, see, they were having a discussion about whether they should put it back in the salt. But, oh, we don't force medicate you. We're a free country. We just put hydrofluorosilicic acid, a acid-based, weaponized form of bad halogen, to make sure it fries everything and fries your adrenals and fries your reproductive systems. It's simply incredible. Okay, I'm going to stop ranting about it. But be sure and check out X2 today. Everybody should be checking out X2 at InfoWarsLife.com. Okay, let me do this. Let me just tell you what's going to come up in the next segment because I've already been ranting here. There's so much to get to. House Democrats give Democrats hope of winning the GOP strongholds. Conservatives who vow to stop spending, keep spending. We'll get to that. This is really important. I'll cover this when we come back first. Zombie bots are coming for lonely singles on Valentine's Day. And I talk a lot about this. Most of the bots, especially that target young people and leftists, according to Sean Parker, former head of Facebook, and others, most of your friends on Facebook and Twitter are fake if you're a leftist. That's the real bots. The Russians came and figured out how to do this. And it turned out, that came out in congressional hearings, in 2016, Twitter came to the Russians, and I forget the amount, it was some huge amount, like 12 million. They said, why don't you spend this huge amount and we'll push your stories and we'll tell you what's trending and we'll tell you what of your stories to push. And on there was Black Lives Matter, Second Amendment, not because it's a conspiracy, like Schiff says, that's in the contract that RT released. That's what they told them to push, and they signed a smaller contract. I forget the detail. I think it was a couple $100,000. The point is that the bots are Facebook, are Twitter, are YouTube. And they admit that most of the people in there are bots and that they go and make leftists more depressed, make them more scared, try to keep them in longer, try to make them afraid to go out. And then they socially engineer them within those echo chambers. So that's coming up. It's so critical because other media will report on this, but just, oh, those so-called sweethearts you think are reaching out to you, those things you think are actually Valentine's requests, they're not. There it is, how Twitter bots are recycling Cold War techniques to sow political division. Yeah, it's Twitter doing it at a scale unimaginable compared to, and see, they like little short things because the computers can come up with short things. That's why they started early with only a few characters, because people would know it was a bot if it got too long. Now the bots have gotten better, so they've massively increased the amount of the bots and how much they can write. Remember the CIA announced 7 years ago that they're going to start writing fake news with bots? Type that in. CIA to use computers to write articles. And then it says it's a bot. And you put in what the disinfo you want, and then it runs around saying it. And then they point at the Russians when Hillary and all the bots failed and got defeated by the American people. They point at Russia and say, oh, that's where the bots came from. When the whole bot thing was a couple $100,000, we'll look it up during the break, of Twitter coming to them and saying, help us push you for election coverage, advertising. All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we've got Wired Magazine on screen, as I told you. Stay with us. These are the facts. So the facts are in. There's been so many news articles from mainstream media the last decade, it makes my head spin, how the big tech companies, the CIA, you name it, were developing fake news bots to go out and propagandize. And Sean Parker came out last year and said that we're targeting helpless people, we're controlling them, we're manipulating their dopamine levels. Facebook documents came out in 2017 out of Australia at the highest levels about how they target liberals and try to keep them alone and radicalized and scared. Their main target is leftist. That just translates into domesticated millennial with no future. And then the parasites that usually kind of beatnik types that feed on them and control them. You'll see it everywhere. You go to a leftist rally, none of them will talk to anybody because they're not supposed to talk and none of them can talk. They'll be like one communist minder who's usually driving a Mercedes. So continuing here, the CIA's fake news campaign, even the New York Times last year admitted that. And the whole bots. Wired Magazine said, what do bots mean to the future of journalism? Well, Twitter is mainly leftist bots. So is Facebook. And it's fake people advertising things to you. It's all of it. And here's the key, though. It's fake bots bullying you when you say something that's true or patriotic or pro-America. Just like Veritas got the documents out of Twitter and the employees on video saying, I'll give you an example. We banned sharing the American flag. And then you think you're sharing it, but you're not. We don't like white people. We don't like rednecks. Now, again, it's mainly white people saying this, just like HBO and just like all the stuff that's happening at these other platforms like Vice. Billionaires that run that channel want the public to see things like this. Vice airs documentary on black healing retreats for people who need a break from white people. And we're going to play some of that in the third hour today, some excerpts. It's amazing. They say things in there that are just dumbfounding, like, well, whites are inherently evil. Whites shouldn't be able to travel outside the country. True brainwashing. So that's going to be coming up as well. So that's the point I'm trying to get at is it's fake people you're talking to. It is fake bots. It is fake propaganda. And it is creating race war, division, culture war, men against women, women against men, families against families, America against Russia. But open the borders up to Islam and don't check anybody and let them come in unvetted and fine European countries 100,000 euros a year if they don't bring in military-age men, on and on and on, and throw old pensioners out of their Section 8 housing and put Islamists in it because they've got to advertise and sweeten the deal to get people to come there for the balkanization of Europe. That is the plan. And as soon as people start realizing how diabolical all this is and how this is planned and how this is admitted, the sooner we can beat it. Because you got fake bots trying to run your life. You've got fake bots bullying you. You've got AI, autonomous computers already running your healthcare, already running the VA, already deciding who gets a knee surgery, who doesn't. It's here. And they cause a national debate because Aetna comes out and says, well, humans don't review it, it's machines. Everybody freaks out. That's the plan we're under. And oh, now the National Health Service is falling apart in the UK. It's always been horrible. But now there's a problem because they're about to make it worse and put it under the big corporations to totally privatize it. But it's not going to be privatization like we think of. It's going to be privatization where computers run it all and screw everybody, and only big mega corporations get to be in the pool. That's the opposite of Trump's free marketization, where he's actually trying to have an open bidding process, which will drive down prices in every single case. But the more money you put behind education, the more money you put behind healthcare, the more the price goes up. And when you make people buy healthcare like a national health service, everybody's got to pay into, what's it do? It drives the price up. And when you make people buy Obamacare that doubles and triples prices, with Gruber saying, thank God you're so dumb, I was hired to double and triple prices, thank God they have no memory, they're like a goldfish. Ha, 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 you're so effing stupid, like Zuckerberg said about you. If you do go along with that, you are dumb, aren't you? But people that don't have any friends, that sit there in a little apartment and are lucky if they have a job and are totally scared and watch Colbert all night, and then they go out on the street and none of them really talk to each other or friends. They all just virtue signal. And they're all really alone and really scared with the screen sickness. They're all only looking at their phones. When you see trendies walking down the street, they're alone. They're isolated under the smartphone spell, under the smartphone sickness, which they admit programs your brain, lowers your IQ, lowers your brain waves. It's incredible. Now, I have so much news, it makes my head spin, but coming up, we're going to have a couple really interesting, really smart guys in studio, really interesting backgrounds, and I wish both of them would tell you more of their background, but they've seen quite a few things. And we're going to get their take on, they were here before, about a month ago, about just a magazine ad that shows Antifa attacking and burning thing and an image of veterans saying, not on our watch, not today, Antifa. And since then, Newsweek, Time all attacked him, National News, which only brought them more success and blew up in their face. But now the Democrats are calling for all this violence. We're going to be discussing that coming up at the 6 afters when we're going to bring those folks in. I've got a special report that needs to be seen. Social media giants meet for Orwellian control. That's coming up the first 5 minutes of the next hour. And then we're going to, the illusion of globalism is beginning to fade. We must reclaim our republic, some really powerful pieces. But what's sickening is Stephen Bannon. The video's up on Infowars.com. Judas Iscariot meets Benedict Arnold. They had a baby. It'd be called Stevie Bannon. Little Stevie Weevy Bannon, Lemon Squeezy Bannon. He has come out, and he has said, oh, the Me Too. They always stage it like in private. Meeting with a reporter, he clutched himself and said, the women are going to enslave us. They're too powerful. They're too incredible. They'll bring down Trump. I'm scared they'll cut my testicles off. I don't know what to do. Mommy, mommy. Let's play that clip again. And this is just meant to hype women into this, oh, you want power? Oh, look, even the elites, the bad guy. That the evil man, Bannon, is now a good guy, and he admits he's scared of you. Women power against the men. I mean, this is the most ridiculous sophomoric advertising, like Edward Bernays saying we can't get women to smoke cigarettes in the 1920s. They said finance every feminist suffrage march and have the women smoke cigarettes and say, my man can't stop me. Well, that was men own the tobacco companies knowing it was going to kill you deader than a hammer. So it's the same total manipulation. So here's little Stevie Bannon. I don't normally play clips twice an hour, but here's one of the reporters on CNN fawning over, oh, yes, how they built up the whole Me Too movement to create this this obvious direction to, quote, empower women to hate Trump and hate recovery and hate America, and then celebrate the North Koreans' dictator's sister who's so sexy and cool on the very same channel. Here it is.
In the paperback release of the new book, you talk about watching the Golden Globe Awards with Steve Bannon, and you got his reaction to the red carpet protests supporting the Me Too movement. He said, quote, "The anti-patriarchy is going to undo 10,000 years of recorded history. You watch, the time has come. Women are going to take charge of society, and they couldn't juxtapose a better villain than Trump. He is the patriarch. This is a definitional moment in the culture. It'll never be the same going forward."
You know, I think Bannon, despite all his flaws, is a pretty shrewd analyst of American politics, and particularly American political anxieties, our national anxieties. And he recognized in those Golden Globe Awards that this was a movement that could potentially be an existential threat to Republicans, not just their majority in the House, but also to President Trump. And there's a wonderful, revealing moment of Freudian angst in the scene, as I described Bannon watching Oprah, where he says, look, if they were to roll out a guillotine right now, these ladies would chop off every set of balls in the room, which is a blunt Bannon way of saying,
because they're good and we're bad.
The Me Too movement, they're coming for our manhood. And I think that expressed a lot of the anxieties that Bannon, that Trump, that people of that political persuasion have about this new rising movement of women, which is really a backlash to the man that Bannon calls the patriarch, Trump himself.
So this is Trump's supposed best buddy now saying he's the patriarchy, he's evil, he's got to be brought down. Total Benedict Arnold behavior with this whole made-up narrative that women are going to be empowered if Trump was taken down. And this is how you're powerful, ladies. When CNN funded the whole Arab Spring, was part of it, promoted it, turning most of the Middle East over to total killers that enslaved hundreds of thousands of women, killed tens of thousands, sold children into sex slavery, cover up for radical Islam. And they're just up there saying, women, you're supposed to get mad at Trump now and go do something. And this is how you're empowered. And everyone's scared of you because you're so powerful. When all it is multinational corporations trying to kill an American recovery and an American move to get control over our government again from the globalists. This is the second American revolution. The left admits that. Those videos are coming up. Rob Reiner and others, they say we're in a revolution. They say they're going to stop America's recovery. That video's coming up. Spread the word. We're live. Alex Jones here, back live. Coming up, what news? Writing bots mean for the future of journalism. And the media admits that Zuckerberg and Facebook are starting to collapse, that their whole operation is in flames. First, this powerful report, social media giants meet for Orwellian control.
Representatives from Google, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube faced a British parliamentary committee on U.S. soil at George Washington University. They were reminded of their own unchecked power to gather their users' data.
There's an article in the Times today in the UK, and the headline is "How to Win 2 Billion Friends and Destroy Civilization, the biggest surveillance enterprise in history." And this is by a very well-known journalist, and he is suggesting that there's, whether Facebook like it or not, the position that you've got yourselves into is this position. It is you hold so much data about people that you are now very, very powerful. I just wanted to know, how long do you hold people's data for that you collect about them? Is there a limit?
Yes, as long as they want us to.
Oddly enough, after demonizing the social media giant's reach, the Orwellian panel dove headfirst into the need to control and regulate free speech.
Do you accept then that there is a problem of bogus news, misleading news, disinformation, and you also accept that you have both the responsibility to and the means to address that?
We recognize that there is a problem of misinformation, and we are dedicated to making sure that we are promoting authoritative content when it comes to news and demoting misinformation.
And when you're talking about misinformation, well, let's face it, misinformation, disinformation, fake news can be sort of sexy. I mean, people like ghosts, they like conspiracy theories, they like UFO stories, and they follow it. And this creates, I would imagine, a huge amount of traffic, both propagating those theories, etc., and those who want to quash that. So that would be good for you, because you can then harvest the data from those people who are doing that.
Doesn't it demonstrate that perhaps it's time for regulation, it's time for rules that set out the roles, the responsibilities, and all of these things, because all of this is affecting our society?
We are not the arbiters of truth. We are not going to remove content based on the fact this is untrue. The one strength that Twitter has is it's a hive of journalists, of citizens, of activists, correcting the record and correcting information. If an account was created for the sole purpose of abusing somebody, that would cross our sole purpose abuse. If it was using language based on a protected characteristic and it's hateful conduct, we'd remove it for that. But the truthness of a piece of information is not a ground upon.
So the deliberate use of your platform to distribute absolutely false and defamatory information can continue in election time, according to what you've just said.
Do you agree with me that Twitter is addictive?
But I don't think it's in our position to say that, because it depends very much on the individual.
I think it's exactly in your position to say that, because it's your product.
We have a large team of what we call raters, 10,000 people around the globe who are constantly at work assessing our results against different queries. Are we surfacing the right kind of results? Are we surfacing results that have appropriate authority? And we use those hundreds of thousands of bits of data from those evaluations to continue to train our systems. This is an ongoing effort.
I just wanted to mention some research that was done recently by The Guardian that suggested that the largest source of news for false news channels came from YouTube and came from these videos that tend to be recommended by the up next button, and more research by Oxford academics demonstrated a lot of this had a far right bias. So I put it to you that if that is the case, you are indoctrinating society.
Ultimately, regulating social media information will ensure its own downfall. Credible sources, truth, and valid opinions are not exclusive to the establishment media. In fact, the opposite has become increasingly and overwhelmingly true. John Bound reporting for Infowars.com.
Well, the kingpin of Hollywood, Rob Reiner, says the left is in a revolution against America, against Trump, and they're calling for more violence. Here's a little compilation of some of what they've been saying lately.
He's not a tough guy. He's a bully and he's a bitch.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig.
And he can suck my
He's a con, a bullshit artist, a mutt.
I'll meet him in a hotel room any other day of the week and give him a Louisville Slugger.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
Kiss my mother ass, you bitch punk sucker.
Pointing what appears to be a water gun at the image of President Donald Trump projected on a whiteboard, art teacher Pale Modi has now been seen by countless viewers across the internet.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House. It's an actor dressed to look just like President Donald Trump as he's assassinated on stage.
Pictures and video depicting comedian Kathy Griffin holding the bloody, decapitated head of President Trump are no joking matter for the Secret Service.
The rhetoric that has inspired the violence has come from the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
They're involved in the coup, an active attempt to start a bloody civil war.
Receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
All right, there's so much to cover on this front that if I start talking, these guys will never get a word in edgewise. And some of these folks, we just flew back into Austin. So I want to get to their views of what's happening currently with Kit Cope of SpikesTactical.com. And, of course, Lincoln Osiris, which is a joke name, a nom de plume from Tropic Thunder. And we're not going to give these guys whole backgrounds or anything, but they're really interesting fellows. And, of course, my good buddy over here, Quentin Carter. But we do have the Democrats calling for civil war, calling for killing people, attacking people all over the country. You guys a few months ago did a full-page spread photo saying, not on our watch, not today, Antifa. The media went crazy. I wanted to get you guys back to talk about just how you see with your backgrounds, being in the third world, being in dictatorships, also knowing things about different aspects of COG without getting anything classified, where this country is, because the Democrats put out that we're in a war. They're attacking us. They want to overthrow things in their own venues, at their own award shows, at the New York Times. But then when we cover it, they say, you're insane. None of that's happening. What is that military tactic? So again, Kit, Q, and of course we've got Mr. Lincoln Osiris over here. Who wants to take it first?
I think that's you, Lincoln.
Put him on
you've got the most experience with that sort of those mind games.
I figured he did.
Yeah, he definitely does. But bottom line, it's the insanity that people will blindly follow an ideology that they have no idea what it is. So the Democrats are out there calling for civil war, knowing that they're not the ones on the line. They're trying to manipulate ignorant people to go out and fight that war for them. So whether it's the people in Charlottesville or anywhere else that come out and they riot and they do all this stuff, they're not doing it because they think that's the right thing to do. They're doing it because they've been manipulated by someone who has a different idea of what it is that they're doing.
Well, and by sensationalism and emotion as well.
Just like George Soros and them pushing the Black Lives Matter movement, they know that black-on-black violence kills black people. It never affects the ultra-rich white globalist. It only helps them.
That's right.
And to be honest, some of these guys actually may believe that they're doing right, but that just kind of really helps explain the difference between our mindset and their mindset.
I'm just concerned because there's a massive gear up, and George Soros is in the news everywhere funding it, and people say, oh, well, they're a joke. I get they're a joke. Like you said, Q, they're just the cover for this. But the Democrats aren't giving up and going along with the election and the recovery. They're fighting. Here's a great example. They cheered the North Korean dictator's sister at the opening of the Olympics and said in the news, we hope she kicks the vice president off the podium. They then said, oh, Trump wants a military parade. That's fascist. We're going to lay in front of the tanks. When a parade isn't tanks coming into the capital city of China to crush peaceful demonstrators like Tiananmen Square. The left are the ones trying to block free speech everywhere. They're the tanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what's so strange? I just did an interview the other day regarding the very same advert that's behind us right now. And the guy that was doing the interview, he said to me, he said, oh, well, you know, I'm fairly left-leaning. You know, I'm not in the Socialist Party like a lot of my friends. And I said, wait, right there. Stop. You just said a lot of your friends are in the Socialist Party. Now, when I was growing up, that was a really bad word. That meant like impending doom. Oh, no, there's socialists. There's people here that are...
Polls show that half of millennials identify as socialist or communist.
It's amazing. No one...
And I think part of that is because they've grown up in a society where the last 8, 12 years, everything was given to them. So they think that's the norm. Like, everything should be given to me. I deserve free college. I deserve this. I deserve that. I don't have to work for anything. I don't have to do anything. There's no military obligation. Like, I don't have to go somewhere. Lincoln and myself both have free college. That's what they say. Well, it's not free at all because we both spent...
That's the deal. You paid for it.
Many, many years earning it.
So let me ask this question to Lincoln. Looking at this, looking at the battle space in America, just as a citizen, where do you think the country is right now? Where do you think Trump is with the recovery? Are we turning the tide? Are we winning? Or, I mean, what do you expect to happen? Because the left has just gone into a total craze mode, and I'm really concerned.
So we spoke about this last time I was on the air. They don't have anything else. I think at this point they've got to resort to, this is the last resort. Our stock markets are looking great. The economy is turning around. We're at the lowest point of unemployment for blacks in history. And what do they have? They've got nothing but let's just create violence. And I don't believe they say they're for free speech unless it's in opposition to what they're saying. So I think this is all they've got left. They're just trying to create drama.
But what I don't understand is why. Like, I really cannot fathom at all, like, what's the whole idea? Like,
it's all about controlling us. They want power over America to control the planet.
Yeah, it blows my mind. I just can't see it. I don't understand how it works.
They can't afford to have anyone look at our administration and think things are going well, that he's doing a good job. They cannot afford that. Therefore, they've got to take the truth and twist it.
But in your mind, where do you think that you stand to gain something by bringing us down. You're an American. You're one of us. You should be sitting here.
Well, that's the thing. They openly root for the North Korean dictator.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I need maybe some psychological expertise to tell me, like, why this is okay. And why are there so many young white male kids out there wearing skinny jeans and beanies right now talking about communism and all of this other crap that they have no idea what it is.
We messed
but
up.
This is what we should do.
This is the result of the participation trophy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. This is what happens when everybody gets a ribbon.
Exactly. That's what Matt and Zach, some of the producers, say, that it's live action role playing. When they go out with guns and block people from going to rallies and attack people or hit a woman in the head with a bike lock, for them it's like LARPing. It's not real.
Right. Because there's never been a repercussion for their actions. Because they grew up in a household where daddy didn't whip them and mom was like, oh, don't be mean to him. Let's be really soft about his feelings and don't yell at him, but give him his phone and his computer and his car back and let him go do whatever instead of taking a whooping like we did as kids. If you messed up, Dr. Jones would have wore you out if you acted the way that these kids act today.
But that's from the street level, from the upper echelon, from the level controlling that level. You know, obviously you've got your theories on why and how, but from that street level where all these kids are just, you know, gimme, 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 and I don't have to pay for what I've done or anything. The blind following is really what's confusing.
Well, exactly. They're never running to Venezuela or Cuba or North Korea or anywhere. They're just here bitching with their smartphones and their new car and like, I want communism, bitches. And they're like, you're like, are you kidding? In communism, you wouldn't have anything. Right. We'll be back to talk about then what their next move will be as they lose and there's a global awakening. We are back live. We've got big news coming up next segment, but the biggest news is right now with Kit Cope of SpikesTactical.com. We got Lincoln Osiris of PipeHittersUnion.com, some of the greatest T-shirts and other materials out there. But before I go any further, we were talking during the break. We have all these COG groups, the Democratic Party, in Atlantic Monthly, you name it, saying, we're already shopping around the Pentagon, overthrowing the president extrajudicially. You have Brennan, you have Clapper last year saying he'll be gone by December in October. That didn't happen. You've got Phil Mudd, the former head of counterterrorism at the CIA, who says he's a proud crapholer. That's a quote, too, if you haven't seen it, saying the government's going to kill this guy about the president. My concern, just to you guys as citizens, veterans, as patriots, what happens if the president is killed? What happens if all the left's threats to do this and try to overthrow the election and all of this? What happens in your mind if that unfolds?
I would imagine in the interim, right after the overthrow, you got to think of, okay, well, who's in charge? Who's controlling what's going to happen next? So you would think, okay, it's just a police state. Well, then who runs that?
Right. And then you start thinking of police state. You start thinking about things like that. You start talking about big government being shut down, the welfare system, free food, free water, free groceries, all that kind of stuff. What's going to happen in the inner cities? We saw it, 2 years ago when California turned off EBT for 12 hours and they started trying to burn the place down. But what happens when that system shuts down completely? And my big thing is what happens amongst veterans and patriots when something happens for whatever reason, whether he's removed or killed or whatever, and now someone else decides they're just going to come into our place and take what's ours and change that. How far is the normal person going to be pushed before they decide, okay, my back's against the ropes and I'm coming out swinging?
And will it even get that far? The reason I say that is, all right, you take over the government. How do you hold it?
Yeah. That's
now,
what
I can't imagine for even a minute, most military units, of course, they're going to have to implement martial law, but most units are saying, hey, I'm not down with this. I've got a family at home. I'm out. I'm going to go take care of my family, because when the world's on fire, guys are thinking about home. They're thinking about their families. They're not thinking about, hey, this unlawful order that was just given to me. Yeah, so it's one thing to, kill the president, but now you've got control. How do you hold it?
Yeah, I don't think
that's
it recovers.
Be almost impossible.
We've had this conversation.
Guys that aren't going to lay down.
Right. We've had this conversation in many different countries in the middle of the night, random, conversations between guys who do the things that we do. If it came down to it, could you fire on Americans? If you were put in a position for martial law, for the National Guard, for whatever, is what's the reality that federal troops or state troops will patrol the streets and fire on Americans? And it's just not going to happen. I don't believe it at all. You know?
I'll tell you what, I've done a whole lot of horrible things in the name of the country. But that is one thing I couldn't do.
No.
Yeah, and that's
go
why.
ahead and put me on that list. I'm not that guy.
And that's why I think it doesn't recover. I don't think the system recovers at all. I don't think you can overthrow the president, take over the system, and establish your own regime. I don't think so. I think you start that process, everything's going to turn to, I can't curse.
Crap. Bravo Sierra.
Crap. Yep. There we go. And we've got a feudal system.
You guys got in like 10 minutes before you went on air. We hadn't even talked before we went on air there. I asked that question because that's the common sense answer I figured I'd get, because I get that from other veterans and active duty, you name it. And the only reason we're raising this is mainstream media is pushing the narrative. This is coming. Trump will be overthrown. He's a Russian agent. Rand Paul's a Russian agent. Tucker Carlson's a Russian agent. Roger Stone's a Russian agent with no proof. And then they're the outside globalist power trying to sell this. And just what you just said, Kit, and what Lincoln said, and what Q said, no one's going to go along with that, and that shows the bravado and the insane disconnect of all these senile people and really crazy people like Michael Moore, who says we want martial law, arrest, Trump, bring in all this stuff. It's like they're the ones pushing this, and I don't think they'll ever get away with it. I'm just surprised how tolerant it's been so far when they're in the news saying we're going to kill everybody, we're going to overthrow, we're planning to kill the president, we're planning to do all this stuff, we're going after his family, and then we're all sitting here taking it. There should be grand juries convened. The FBI should be visiting people. If I was on air saying let's organize people for violence and start killing people and overthrow the government, I should be visited. But no, they're all doing it, and it's fine.
Yeah, they can go about their normal day. They go to work, they go home, they live their lives, and they should be hemmed up.
And those are the ones that will fall in line. March step to the beat of the drum. Those guys will fall in line.
I think
they want to be told what to do.
Michael Moore and those guys, they don't think about something that, because they don't live in a reality we live in. Martial law means civil unrest. It means killing and all kinds of crazy stuff. It means that there are people at home that don't have anything, that they're going to go find it from somewhere else, right? I've got some food, I've got some water.
And the leftist elites with their 10-foot walls out in California, boy.
Guess what? If hypothetically, if I needed something and I needed to go find it, I'm not going to go to an urban area of Atlanta to find what it is that I'm looking for. I'm going to go to some big fancy house in the hills with a 10-foot fence because they have everything they've ever wanted and ever needed, and that's where I'm going to resupply myself. So when you start calling for this war, I think you're not fully thinking that, someone's going to come take what belongs to you, because there are people out there with skills and tools and a need. If I need to feed my family, if I need to get something to take care of them, I'll stop at no means to get what it is they need.
Well, take Bette Midler. We're going to go to break here in a few minutes. She came out when Rand Paul voted against the budget, which was a reasonable thing. I get why Trump had to do it, so it would have stalled the economy. But Bette Midler came out and said, "Oh, I wish his neighbor would have finished the job." Basically, attacking him, not even knowing that Rand Paul was in opposition to Trump. They're so politically ignorant they don't even know who the players are.
Well, it's all the projection as well. Like we talked about last time, you see the Antifa guys out there. There's actually signs that say that their rally is supported by the Communist Party, and then
it says on their website.
Yeah, and then you've got them calling the right communists. It's just projection. It's just, look, this is what we are. We know it's bad. We're going to tell them that that's what you are.
And something to think about too, like what's being shown right there on the screen right now is those guys are role playing. They're not being serious. They don't feel. That's not in their heart. They're just out there playing a game. They left their mom's basement. He grabbed some AR. It may be even some airsoft.
Yeah, they're not ready to kill or take the consequences of being killed.
None whatsoever. Do they have any skill set or any idea of what it takes to pull that trigger?
And they've got a very false sense of confidence. These guys have played too many video games. They think they know what's up. And it's like that famous quote, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. They're walking tall, looking strong, but at the moment things pop off, they've got no idea what they're doing.
Henry Rollins said it, right? It's easy to hold a hammer. Do you have what it takes to hit the nail? That's it.
All right, we'll be back to talk about some incredible breaking news on the other side. Well, we got some great guys in here with us. Kit Cope of SpikesTactical.com, Lincoln Osiris, which is a joke name. Obviously, he's protecting his identity, from PipehittersUnion.com, who, by the way, make T-shirts here in America for us at less of a price that are higher quality than we had before. So we really appreciate him right here in Austin, Texas. I'll leave it at that, PipehittersUnion.com. And listen, I know you guys don't want to talk about yourselves. You said, oh, don't even get into my bio. But obviously, a lot of your bios are secret and stuff. But I mean, take Kit. You're a MMA title contender, world champion, Muay Thai. I mean, fighting for major countries, winning, on and on and on. And combat veteran, a whole bunch of different secretive groups we can't get into. Lincoln Osiris. I mean, wow. I mean, if guys like this talked, what type of books could they write? He hasn't even told me any of the stuff he's involved in or anything. He just comes on the show, and you know, it gets the system watching what we're doing. It's just crazy to then see you guys committed to the country, committed, proving what you stand for, versus the Democrats. And I'm in here during the break going, you didn't see Phil Mudd on TV say we're going to kill the president? You didn't see Clapper and Brennan right after they were kicked out middle of last year say he'll be gone by December extrajudicially? It won't be an impeachment. We're going to take him out. They're the stories right there.
Why aren't we seeing that daily?
It's only on CNN. That's what I'm saying. On their echo boxes, they're saying, we're going to kill the president. And then I was told by sources, they said, Alex, their stay-behind networks are so scared in the Justice Department and FBI committing these crimes, and they're surrounded by good agents, they have to say this to look like they're still winning. Then Mudd came out last week and said, we're winning. Stay there. Stay at your post. We're winning. So I guess that's true. It's like desperation is why they're saying this. But I don't want to be too arrogant, because if somebody's desperate, sometimes they can cause some damage.
All right. Does
that make sense?
Back into the corner thing.
Absolutely makes sense. Dealing with a problem like that right now.
Right. And just so that we're not
a very, very dangerous individual.
Yeah.
Just so that we're not CNN and we don't put out any fake news.
Yeah.
Kid is a great friend of ours.
Combat veteran.
Kid is a contractor, has worked around the world, done security.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's somebody out there right now that's going, Kid's not a combat veteran. Infowar is lying and they're whatever. Like, no.
Fake news.
We just simply misspoke. He is a contractor. He's done security, high threat around the world. But
I can't keep track of it all.
100% civilian. Which is actually, lets you guys know out there that you can get all of that training just like these guys, get all that training, all the tactical training, and still do the work.
Absolutely.
For your country.
And then you can end up, helping the folks over at the gun operation you're involved in.
I do that as well. At Spikes Tactical.
I want to get into that here in just a moment, but I don't want to sit here and rant and then you guys not have time. What is on your mind about the country right now? Because all I know is the left's running around saying they're going to kill everybody. They're going to overthrow everything. They're going to burn everything down. They're going to overthrow the president. I guess, Lincoln, you couldn't see the articles when I was calling for them. On screen, the videos of them saying what I was saying. I know that sounds unbelievable. If true, the things I said, what do you make of those?
It is very unbelievable. It is, I can't imagine that every media outlet on the planet isn't having this discussion right now. It's unfathomable that someone would actually come out and say, hey, we're going to kill the president.
It is, and I think it's a call not only on their side but ours. It's a call to action. Let's be real. By no means am I advocating violence. I'm not saying go out there and burn stuff down and do whatever. But I am saying that they're calling for an end to our reality, the way that we live, our democracy, our justice system, all these different things. They're calling for an end to that. They want a war. And it's time for you to be prepared. Whatever that means, if that means that you need to stock up on some stuff or get
that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Right now, I've never seen the left worldwide as wound up and out of control as they are. And they say they're in this existential death battle and that they're not giving up.
But it actually appears as though they are moving forward with an agenda. They are actually trying to execute plans now, finally.
I've never before felt that we were on the verge of civil war like I do now. And that's a very scary feeling. To step back, I have been to civil wars. I have seen the death and destruction and mayhem. It is very, very hard to believe that we're so close to that here in the United States.
Of neighbor versus neighbor.
Right.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Which clip do we have ready? Do you guys have Phil Mudd saying the government's going to kill this guy, or do you have Rob Reiner ready? Pardon me?
Phil Mudd.
Yeah, let's play Phil Mudd. He's made a bunch of these statements, but here's one of them.
What was your response, Phil Mudd?
A couple surprises. Let me give you one bottom line. As a former government official, government's going to kill this guy. He defends Vladimir Putin. Their State Department and CIA officers are coming home. And at Langley and in Foggy Bottom, CIA and State, they're saying, this is how you defend us?
Phil, before...
all right, that's good. And then we've got Rob Reiner just last Friday saying all these lies and then saying, we're on a glide path to take over America, but the president's here, so we're in the last battle of the Civil War. Here's that clip of Rob Reiner.
Then he gets into office, and there are good people on both sides in Charlottesville, and there are people coming from countries, and it goes on, and you see the people that he hires that are in his administration, and we see that this now becomes the last battle of the Civil War. And we're fighting it right now. And we're going to win. We're going to win. But we thought we were on this glide path. We've been dragged back, and we're going to win. Because if we don't win, the promise of what this country started as, which is we are all one, we are all created equal, that promise will not be realized unless we can overcome what has happened in this last election. And I know we will.
I have so much to say. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what is he talking about? Backsliding and all of this craziness. And
they're the ones that want to destroy the country.
Right. What's backsliding? The economy, jobs.
They're trying to backslide
all this stuff. Like, all of these things that are doing great.
Lincoln, you probably didn't have an earpiece, but just you can hear us talking about it. What do you make of Hollywood saying that we're in a civil war?
Well, it's quite interesting. Hollywood, those guys are literally living in a fantasy land.
It's your job to pretend.
That is their job in a fantasy land, but their reality is also a fantasy land. These individuals that are calling for, a civil war and martial law and to take out the president, they've got no idea what that would mean, what would follow. They're not prepared for it. They've got no idea what it would bring. Well, they'd be the first people to
everywhere leftists take over, everything collapses. Why do they want to do it then?
It reminds me of the who was it? Tom Cruise thing where he said that his job is just as hard as like a recon Marine or something like that because he's been through all of the same training that they have and that kind of thing. They're not living in reality at all.
If Rob Reiner wants to see civil war, he needs to jump on an airplane and take his self to Africa. Go watch where people mutilate other people simply because they're from a different tribe, where men, women, and children are killed and burned and hacked into pieces. He doesn't know what reality of civil war is. That's a word he's using based upon something he read in some liberal book 20 years ago.
And he doesn't know that far. Jump on a plane down to Caracas, my friend.
There you go. There you
Good
go.
luck with that.
It's emotional fear mongering and sensationalism.
Yeah,
and that's my point. Is they're trying to start this war, and if they do, they're completely out of luck. When we come back, we're going to talk about Pipe Hitters Union. We're talking about Spikes Tactical because we've done something really exciting with these guys, and I'm very, very honored to be involved in it, and it's a great way for people to get prepared and to fund the Infowar. So we'll talk about that. But just briefly here, if you go to spikestactical.com and use promo code Alex, you get 5% off on everything. And Spikes Tactical is one of the top tactical companies out there, but still at affordable prices, very respected, huge following, and a lot of the folks that listen to the show are already Spikes Tactical supporters. So be sure and check that out. They're major sponsors of the show. That helps fund the information war at spikestactical.com. You can also get great T-shirts at pipehittersunion.com. And our latest shirt of the month was made by Pipe Hitters Union. So find that at InfoWarsStore.com because funding this operation is not free. We'll be back. Stay with us. All right, we're back live. Roger Stone's coming up about 15 minutes in the next hour in studio with me, but I'm here talking to my buddies from Spikes Tactical and Pipe Hitters Union, and also Quentin, the D.C. Mall cop. I'm a combat veteran of the D.C. Mall.
I moved up. It was Atlanta. Now I'm in D.C.
You're in D.C. now. It's even rougher. Hey, seriously, though, Vanessa Trump taken to hospital, NBC reports, as precaution after suspicious letter sent to her home, maybe anthrax, they think, or something. And so she's been sent to the hospital. The amount of threats that family gets, it's not about kissing Trump's ass, but he really has stood up to a lot of bullying, delivered on so many fronts. It's crazy. I want to get into Spike's Tactical, Pipe Hitters Union, all of this, but any other comments that you guys want to make during the breaks?
In the past 8 years, how many times did we hear anything about a personal attack on Obama or his family? None.
Yeah, didn't happen.
Never heard one. You never heard anything about his kids being threatened or his family being
Or conservatives beating liberals up.
Or chasing somebody down and beating them up. Or
What happened at the inauguration trying to get in?
Multiple things. I mean, how many times did we get in fist fights, literal fist fights, just trying to get in the building? I mean,
just getting in the mall, yeah.
Just to get in there. Like, it was insane. But we never saw any of that. So that's just proof that they'll stop at no means to disrupt our normal standard behavior by any cost, you know?
That's all I'm saying. It's not like I'm saying they're badass and scary and they're like Godzilla coming out of the ocean. They're just out of control.
But they want to make us, the conservative gun owner, the threat.
Bible,
they want to say we are the bad guys, but we're not the ones out there creating havoc and hurting people in public and, you know, beating up old ladies with bike locks and chains and pipes.
So we took a call. This is the level of intellect that we're dealing with. We took a call the other day to at Spike's Tactical. We've gotten a lot of calls since our ad. And the guy,
many death threats.
Yeah, the guy in the same sentence, or not in the same phrase, said Bible thumping, gun-toting Nazis. 2 sentences later, you Jew-loving something.
Fascist,
yeah.
That's right.
Like,
that's what I've noticed is the anti-Jew folks are now anti-Nazi too. None of them even makes sense. It's like,
if we just throw enough spaghetti against the wall, something's going to stick.
Right.
So I'm just going to call you every name that I can think of. Everything.
That's like that gun shop in Washington where the guy walks in and goes, "Do you sell to?" and uses the K word.
Right.
And the guy goes, "Yeah, we sell to everybody." And then the guy just flips out. Well, let's talk about this. It's a way to support the broadcast. Plus, it's a way to get high quality products. Let's talk about Spike's Tactical and the fact you guys are sponsors, which is great for a major gun group, but all the accessories you've got and the courage you promote Americana when, you know, people target folks that tell the truth. But you guys already flew your flag with the full page ads you've been running. So that's what you're all about. Tell us about Spike's Tactical and why it's so important. 5% off. It's already discounted, folks. When you go there and use promo code Alex at spikestactical.com. Tell us about that, Kit.
Well, we actually Spike's Tactical started September 10th, 2001, the day before the big event. Spike himself just sought to make the absolute best rifle out there that people could afford. And so that's what we've done. Everything has a full lifetime guarantee, a no BS lifetime guarantee. And that's why Pipe Hitters Union has actually started doing a collaboration with us as well.
Lincoln, why was it that you picked Spikes?
Well, a couple of years ago, we decided to, we wanted to put out a line of rifles. We wanted rifles that were high quality, that were combat rated, if you will, that we could like put our name on and really stand behind. So we looked around at quite a few companies, and to be quite honest, it was an easy decision to make. Spike's Tactical is a small family-owned business. Not super small. They're not run out of a garage by any means, but they are not one of the giants in the industry. They stand behind their products. As Kit said, it's a no BS lifetime guarantee. If you have a problem with your gun, they will fix the problem. And that is huge in today's age. That is not happening with any other small
For the lifetime of the gun, whether you bought it from us originally or bought it off the internet or bought it, found it in a trash can, it's a Spike's rifle, and we'll take care of it.
We decided to sit down with them. We built an entire line of guns. They're extremely high quality. We put the money where it really mattered. You're looking for the pipe hitters rifles anyway. You're looking at a high-end barrel, a high-end bolt, a high-end trigger, everything that's really important. Now, we saved money by, using forged uppers and lowers for our basic line and threw on some cool stuff to make it, to give it a good appearance. So you've got a very high-end rifle at a very affordable price. Yeah, you can't go wrong. We are family. As you can see by, the ad that we ran with Spikes Tactical, we are family with them. And I can't imagine using any other rifle.
Well, I know the listeners are big fans already of Spike Tactical, and the fact you're supporting us, you're getting your Second Amendment, you're getting high-quality rifles and accessories, and you're funding the Infowar, a total win.
That's a double W.
Right, so we're saying, for InfoWars listeners, go to spikestactical.com, pick out anything. Pick out a T-shirt, gun parts, full receivers, whatever it is that you're looking for, anything that's there, or even call the number that's associated. There's a 1-800 number on the website. You can call and order those things. Give them the promo code ALEX, get a discount.
That is for any product. You want stickers or a full rifle for anything. Before I even worked for Spikes Tactical, the reason that I was drawn to the company, is when I was first getting into ARs, somebody told me, okay, well, when you buy an AR, you're going to need to upgrade your bolt carrier group, upgrade your trigger, and make sure that you've got a really nice barrel. Those are the most important things on your rifle to, once you get a bare bones rifle. Well, then I saw Spikes Tactical rifles, and I said, oh, well, that stuff already comes upgraded. That stuff's already the highest end stuff that you can get on our basic rifles.
And just so you know, there are a million rifle companies out there. And some of them are good. The large majority of them are not so good. And in the rifle business, you tend to get what you pay for. So you've really got to pay attention. You can go down to one of these big box stores and find a rifle for $600, and you're lucky if that thing's going to last you a year. So the quality that you get at Spikes Tactical is top notch. The service that you're going to get is top notch. You couldn't ask for anything more than what you're going to get at Spikes Tactical.
Plus, we're not funded by George Soros or the globalists. So that's what I'm looking for, is the very best companies that have a great quality product with all the accessories, T-shirts, you name it, from the full rifles down to all the accessories.
We're also 100% American made. Everything on the rifle.
I should have added that up front because I've got the whole deal here.
I was going to say, it's 100% American made. They are strong supporters of the Second Amendment. They are strong supporters of the military. Spike gives back a lot.
Well, most big gun companies, even small ones, are intimidated because they, oh my God, Alex Jones, he's too radical. So the fact is, you guys are a top-tier gun company, great prices, and you support the Infowar. It's a win-win for our audience. So we have the partnership between Patriots, Infowars, and Spikes Tactical. It's a 100% American-made rifle company, builds high-quality rifles for the best price possible. Their rifles or AR configurations have an actual aerospace engineer behind the R&D. They also feature an OBS lifetime warranty to guarantee your best rifle you can buy. They're an industry innovation leader, bringing you the largest selection of AR configurations on the internet. Not only do you get the highest quality rifles from a team of true patriots, you can save 5% off their incredible products with promo code ALEX at checkout. Save big at spikestactical.com today. That's promo code ALEX at spikestactical.com.
And Spike does a lot of things for a lot of people, and he keeps it super quiet. He doesn't allow anyone to talk about the things that he does as far as charity and benefit and stuff like that. He gives a ton of money. I'm from Florida. I've known them for many years. I've been associated with them. They do a lot for the community, but one of his caveats is, don't tell anybody. Yeah. I'm not doing this because I don't want anyone to know. I'm doing this because it's what needs to be done. There is a law enforcement unit that ran out of ammunition for training for a full year. And I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to anyway. Spike bought their full year of ammo so that their law enforcement unit could train, but he didn't want anybody to know.
But there's a paradox there. If people don't talk about what they're doing and obsess on not doing it, then nobody knows what's going on. So there's kind of that line of people have to talk about some stuff or nobody knows what's going on.
Right. So it's a fine line between
to ride, trust me.
Right. Yeah. It's a fine line between beating your chest and saying, hey, look at me. I do all this good stuff for everybody all the time, when really maybe you do, maybe you don't. And doing a lot of good stuff for people and not telling anyone. So that's why if Spike's mad, he can call me, but
that's that's why I'm here. That's why I'm sitting in this chair.
PipehittersUnion.com, spikestactical.com, Alex Jones. We're going to come back and do a few more minutes, and then Roger Stone's coming here to take over. I'm going to let Roger sit here and take over the whole transmission today. He's got a bunch of special guests joining him as well. All right, we got the third hour coming up in about 2 minutes, Infowars.com/show. It's an active rebellion to spread those links. You know, I know Lincoln and I know Q, some of their military backgrounds. They don't get into those on air. And I know you're like a world champion Muay Thai guy fighting for major countries. And I just thought, oh, well, you're a big contractor, as it says in your bio. You must have been in the military before. But you were saying, I don't know if you can get into it on air. That's a whole nother interesting subject. Oh, it is. I don't know if you can get into it on air about because the fact that you're like really rare, according to Lincoln.
Well, I'll tell you what, and Q will agree with me. It's very rare that you find someone that does, overseas hostile contracting work that has not served.
That's right.
So how'd you do that?
Once again, I'm so rare.
No, but how'd you do that?
You know what? You've got to be, you got to obviously have the right mindset and seek the training. Everybody wants
to be a world champion Muay Thai.
That helps.
Bare knuckles fighter.
It helps, yeah. But everybody wants the tools. They want the cool gadgets. They want put more stuff on my gun. But nobody thinks about the software. It's all hardware. So I've being a professional athlete, being a world champion, I'm a big believer in coaching. You know, I know that I couldn't have done what I've done without having the best coaches in the world. And so I sought out the best coaches in the world to teach me warfare.
And it has afforded him some opportunities that are not available to the average Joe.
Absolutely.
In closing, pipehittersunion.com, prints our t-shirts, InfoWarsStore.com. Support everything we're doing. You buy those. We're getting them at Pipe Hitters Union. I don't care either way. And Kit, again, Spikes Tactical. I want people to know these are great rifles, great accessories, and they're supporting what we're doing when they get them there.
Absolutely.
Promo code Alex.
Promo code Alex. From the smallest spring in your rifle to complete, compressors, which is like the Ferrari of rifles. We've got everything and everything you can use the promo code Alex on.
See, I'm dumb. I know what a suppressor is. What's a compressor?
A compressor is the most beautiful rifle I've ever held in my hands. It's an 8.1-inch barrel with a suppressor. It's the top of everything, and it's pretty much the greatest operator's rifle on the planet.
It is the gun every operator wishes they had downrange.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one.
I'm not the gun expert, but Q's like, hey, this Texas STI handgun's really good. And I was like at 40 feet shooting better than I shoot at 20, like boom, 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 in the holes. Like, damn, this is different. So I guess you said a rifle's like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, definitely is. And you have a Pipe Hitters Union model, Spikes Tactical. We've had it for 6 or 8 months. It's the gun that when we go and shoot, it's your favorite one. It's the AR pistol. So we're not just a fan.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yep, it's one we may carry in a car. We may not. Who knows?
I got to admit, I got so many guns. I can't. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but we're not just pitching something else. This is actually something we use. We have multiples of them. I have one. You have one. We shoot them all the time.
And Spikes has got a whole range of guns. Like Kit just said, they've got, from basic little parts all the way up to the Ferrari and everything in between. So if you just want a good, solid, quality rifle to protect your home with, well, they've got that.
Well, just because I got to have it, I want, what's the
compressor?
The compressor.
For you, because, you want the Ferrari and the Aston Martin and,
No, I'm not that fancy.
You're going to want the compressor. The Recluse, which is what was just on the screen, that's a integrally suppressed 9mm carbine. So you can actually put full power rounds through that. And
is that what that is?
Yep, and it comes out subsonic. So that's the gun you want to shoot in your house.
Looks like Tim liked that.
He did like that a lot.
Yeah. And then you want the Roadhouse so you can reach out and touch someone.
That's that rifle you're shooting.
The long one,
the
yeah.
Long range. That's the
long range rifle.
Yep.
That's cool. The barrel with the little barrel magazine. What's that?
Yeah, with the drum magazine in there.
Yep.
So it's a 50-round drum. Just allows you to have a little fun for a little while.
Barrel drum?
Yeah.
I got my name for it.
I take care of all that stuff.
PipeHittersUnion.com, SpikesTackle.com. We're getting sponsored by Spikes Tactical. Pipe Hitters Union prints our T-shirts. InfoWarsStore.com. We're going to come back and we're going to have our good buddy Roger Stone, former head of the Trump campaign, take over with so much breaking news. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Amazing.
Thanks, Alex.
Stay with us, folks. The illusion of globalism is beginning to fade. And once you've taken your blinders off, or you could reverse that and said, taken the sunglasses that the establishment doesn't want you to wear and put them on like they live, you then see for yourself that you've been lied to over and over again by so-called mainstream media that's simply bought and paid for by multinational interests that have conquered this country. And it doesn't mean that when you support Infowars or President Trump or nationalism or free market capitalism that you think you're perfect or you think we're perfect. But we know it works 1,000 times better and is what builds big, open, free, wealthy societies. Now, that creates the byproduct of decadence, so that's certainly a real issue. But globalists like George Soros that have been openly bragging that they are funding, trying to keep the EU in control of countries that never voted to enter it, like the UK, the fact that he's so brazen and so out in the open only will accelerate the planetary awakening to their tyranny.
With another 280 North Koreans crossing the border, soon all eyes will be on one member of the delegation. Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, will become the first member of the Kim ruling family to set foot in the country.
It's the sister of Kim Jong-un, the bloodthirsty dictator who's constantly threatening to nuke the U.S. and all this. And so they're there as part of a, quote, peace delegation because Trump's put pressure on them for the first time ever. A member of the ruling communist royal house. Communism is always royal. It's no form of royalty. It's the first time they've come to the table because they understand how much trouble they're in. NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN all praised her and said she was glaring at Pence, and liberals said, oh, we hope she attacks Pence, and oh, she's so sexy, oh, she's so beautiful. And then when it blew up in their face, they began to remove the video. Look at this, Kim Jong-un's sister stealing the show at the Winter Olympics. Oh my gosh. They keep more than half their population in slave camps, and they admit that they, quote, take babies like you take a chicken's eggs at birth, so they're not loyal to the family. Millions die every couple of years. They torture people to death like no one's ever seen. And our media, I remember Lester Holt.
Kate, we traveled about 4 hours east of Pyongyang to visit a ski resort that has significance in the recent talks we've been watching between the North and South over the Winter Olympics. This, we're told, is a place where athletes from the North and South will be training together. We were also invited here, I would suspect, because it is not what people expect to see in North Korea. A modern ski resort. It's got patriotic music and videos playing from a screen here, and a lot of families out enjoying themselves. We've spoken to some of those families, people expressing a sense of optimism that the two countries are speaking together, a sense of pride that they will be competing together in the Winter Olympics, and also some expressing a sense of greater security, given a chance to ratchet down some of the tensions. Now,
you could not support a worse regime living on the planet. Stalin and Hitler were as bad or worse. Per capita even killed more people, but probably not even as psychotically ridiculous. I mean, the North Koreans are under total slavery.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Roger Stone, and it's great to be back in the mothership. I had a whirlwind tour of the United Kingdom, spoke to the Oxford Union, the Cambridge Union, the Durham Union Society, student organizations, and I found a real hunger among the people of the UK to get the truth because they're not getting it from the BBC or from The Guardian. They make CNN and the New York Times look honest. They're so out of whack. Donald Trump is weakening our law enforcement agencies, our intelligence agencies. It's the normal pap that is spit out inside the Beltway and in the media centers in Washington, but 10 times worse. And then I had a terrific tour of Florida, Tallahassee, Orlando, Bonita Springs, and Naples. And I must tell you, the vibrance of the Trump movement it is stronger and more intense than ever. the support for the president now that he has pulled off a modern economic miracle. We had 8 years of anemic growth under Barack Obama, and the president has created 2 million new jobs. He has cut regulations to the bone. His historic tax cuts have not even had an opportunity to get traction, to yet have the impact that's going to turbocharge this economy. And already, the generic ballot for Democrats in the upcoming congressional races, which was somewhere a gap of around 17, 18 weeks ago, has now dropped to just 6. Now, the key thing here is that the hand-wringing by the country club Republicans who are afraid we're going to lose the House in 2018, they really misunderstand what's going on. The Democrats have demonstrated that they have no program. They hate Donald Trump. We know that. They want to impeach him. We know that too. But they have no constructive program for America. They're not running on anything. They can't even tell you what they're for. So I believe if the Republicans, under the leadership of Donald Trump, run for jobs and prosperity and to reasserting America's role around the world, the Democrats run on, we hate Donald Trump, we will hold our own in what is historically the party in power always loses a few seats. The real problem, of course, is if country club Republicans, if establishment Republicans cut and run, if they abandon this president, they do so at their own peril. That, in my opinion, will be folly. Stick with the president, and we will do fine in the next elections. The sunshine soldiers, the naysayers in the Republican establishment are panicking much too early. As someone who's been in American politics for 40 years, you can't predict what's going to happen this November. You can't say in February what the November elections will be like. The economy is likely to be greatly improved, and it's already pretty strong and making real progress in terms of undoing the damage of 8 years of Barack Obama. So the other interesting piece of news here today is the unveiling of the portrait by Kehinde Wiley, the artist who painted the portrait of Barack Obama. Incredibly, this artist brags about mixing his own semen in with his paint as some kind of a statement. It's disgusting. And this photo looks like something out of the Talking Heads. It's very strange. The other thing that I want to touch on today is a note of sadness. Jeffrey Bell, who was a conservative activist, an aide to Governor Ronald Reagan in 1976, a seminal issue advisor for Ronald Reagan in 1980, a man who was a real pioneer of the supply side economics movement, an advisor to Jack Kemp, an optimist, a Catholic, one of the smartest, most honest people I know. Now, one of the main reasons why Ronald Reagan ran on tax cuts in 1980 is because Jeffrey Bell decided to go to his native New Jersey and challenge Clifford Case in the Republican primary, and thus prove the strength of that idea. Rest in peace, Jeff Bell. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Roger Stone, sitting in for Alex Jones. When I was in the UK, there was a lot of discussion about the delays in the effectuating of the Brexit decision by the people of that country. Now we see advocates for Brexit, members of parliament who supported it, being subjected to an unprecedented number of death threats. This is not unlike what has now happened today, where Donald Trump Jr., who is very clearly emerging as an important spokesman for the Trump reform movement. His tweets are really outstanding. He is not fettered by the White House staff, can say what he really thinks. We know that he is a regular watcher of Infowar, and that he takes alternative conservative media links and puts them out there for the legions of the president's supporters to see and to circulate. Now, it is extraordinary that his daughter, Vanessa, his eldest child had to be taken or was taken to a Manhattan hospital as a precaution after she received an envelope of some kind of white powder, clearly meant as some type of threat. This is the tolerance of the liberals. This is the mindset of the increasingly violent left. The same people who are threatening members of parliament over Brexit are the people sending this kind of garbage through the mail. I don't mean literally, but it is interesting because, and Alex Jones pointed this out to me, the Brexit vote is the same populist uprising that elected Donald Trump. It's the same populist uprising we see across Europe. It is a rejection of globalism. It is a rejection of the surrender of the sovereignty of free people everywhere. And it is extraordinary that the left has two tactics, censorship and threats. They can't win a debate. Rush Limbaugh was absolutely right the other day when he said that there's a major effort on the tech left to limit Infowars and the other alternative media sites. But more precisely, this very cabal, this kind of thinking, has surrounded the president. Now, when I was in Florida for these terrific speeches in Naples and Tallahassee and so on, a lot of Trump supporters were scratching their heads about exactly what's going on with General John Kelly and the White House staff and, of course, the Rob Porter scandal. And we can report exclusively that General Kelly was grooming Rob Porter, to be the incoming White House chief of staff. You see, General Kelly believes that he is going to go over to run the Department of Defense and that General Mattis will not fill out the term. And Porter was being groomed. This is why I believe that General Kelly overlooked credible reports of spousal abuse by Mr. Porter. Now, we also exclusively reported here at Infowars that the president felt out Thomas J. Barrick Jr. of Colony Capital, a Los Angeles real estate opportunity fund, literally the president's closest personal friend, a peer, and there are very few, a man of enormous capability, a man who the president trusts, and he has declined the chief of staff job. But just the fact that the president is feeling people out tells me that General Kelly is on the skids. Now, there's no rejoicing over this fact because, unfortunately, General Kelly and Rob Porter and, sadly, Hope Hicks, who I think is a good person and a Trump loyalist, have been in the forefront of those keeping the Infowars from the president, keeping Breitbart, the Daily Caller, Rush Limbaugh. The president is not getting this news. Instead, he's getting Politico and the New York Times. They have done the president a disservice because the movement that elected Donald Trump had its vibrant message in the alternative media. It is only the technological advances that mean that the majority of Americans are getting their news from the internet. And therefore, you've had the rise of a robust and vibrant alternative media, so that when the mainstream media, the three major networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, and the two cable news networks, started trashing Donald Trump, started being a de facto advertising for the Clinton campaign, there were alternative sources of information, Infowars being among the leaders. It is only because of that we were able to pull off, and Donald Trump has said it several times, this wasn't his victory, it was the people's victory, the greatest upset in American history. Now, it is vital, in my opinion, that the president's next chief of staff and his next communications director keep him apprised of the alternative media, of the conservative alternative media. We're carrying the banner for the Trump administration. Alex Jones has had the president's back every step of the way. When others who are faint of heart flipped out over the NBC Billy Bush revelations, Alex Jones never blinked. Either did the folks here at Infowars. We've got the president's back, and I know that he knows that. But we're doing so many good investigative reports here. We are really breaking it down for the activists so that they can retweet it. It's important that the president knows what we're doing, because those things have a habit of ending up in his Twitter feed. And no, he's not going to give up his Twitter feed. It's interesting that the General Kelly's never been able to get control of the president's Twitter feed. That's because the president jealously guards it. He likes it. In fact, I think he loves it. And it allows him to communicate directly with the American people, unfiltered. Now, I've said in 100 speeches that no one puts words in Donald Trump's mouth. No one puts ideas in his head. He's his own strategist. He's his own phrase maker. He's his own tweet master. He's his own press secretary. And he's a genius. He understands the news cycle like few others. And if you want the unalloyed, absolute, undiluted Donald Trump, well, then just follow his Twitter feed. He destroys the left. He used to do it in 140 characters. Now he's got a few characters more. It is essential that, in my opinion, there be a house cleaning, that General Kelly go on to serve the administration in some other capacity. He's done some great things, taking on the Congresswoman from Florida, for example, on the immigration issue. But I don't think he's serving the president well when he blocks him from information that he must have to win the greater fight. Now, there's talk of alternatives. Congressman Kevin McCarthy is a name that comes up. Newt Gingrich. I don't think any of those people will be the president's next chief of staff. And we'll keep you posted here at Infowars on exactly what's going on. Welcome back. That's right. This is Freedom Command Central. It's the Alex Jones Show, and I'm your host, Roger Stone. Now joining me is the #1 Donald Trump impressionist in the world. Now, there probably wasn't a great market for Trump impressionists prior to Donald Trump being elected president, but John D. Domenico's career really took off, and you may have seen his dead-on impression or heard it in the Super Bowl commercial that I think we're going to run here.
Melania did not kick me out of the White House for installing coal-burning fireplaces. Fake news.
Mr. President.
Why are you throwing balls at my face, Kirk Cousins?
It's Kirk.
That's what I said, Gerd.
Never mind. I just saw your tweet. You look pretty upset.
Well, you read my defense perfectly. Melania says these old-school fireplaces are dirty, and I'm turning the White House into an ashhole.
Forget the mess, Mr. President. Just come with me. Clean, efficient, natural gas fireplaces from gasfireplaces.com.
Do they do deals?
Deals up to 80% off for President's Day, installed in less than a week.
Wait a minute. I'm a president. 80%, that's almost as high as my approval rating.
Whatever you say, sir.
You know what? I know deals. This is a tremendous deal. I got to tweet this.
Forget Twitter. Just go to gasfireplaces.com. Cypress Air is the best.
Sneaky Alex stole your job, so I'm making you Secretary of Offense. Now, prepare for fire and fury. You like that, Kirk Cousins? You like that?
Mr. President, that's my line.
No, you've been trumped.
You know what I do like? Gas fireplaces from gasfireplaces.com.
Excuse me. Only I get to talk directly to the camera. Gas fireplaces from gasfireplaces.com. The best. Big league. Well, there you have it. A terrific spot. Funny and satire without being overtly political or nasty. Congratulations, John D. Domenico. As someone who's known Donald Trump and studied his speech patterns myself for many years, you nailed it. You really nailed it. Thank you very much, Roger. I'm very excited to be on the show, I have to tell you. How are you? It's great. So now it's my understanding that you, as an impressionist, you've done other characters, but this seems to be your new calling. I mean, this is that's as good as it gets. I mean, someplace Alex Baldwin is killing himself right now, somewhere. Well, I've been doing Trump
since 2004, right around the end of the first season of The Apprentice, when there was a big demand corporately for Trump to come in and roast people and do apprentice games and things like that. So I've had a really long runway with him, and to learn his voice and to really get it down, especially these last 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen other impressionists out there on the circuit, and they seem to focus on the physicality of Donald Trump, his hand motions and so on. But you combine both his gestures and his idiosyncratic speech. Believe me.
Believe me. He's got a lot of, you know, what's really interesting, and you obviously know him personally, but it seems like since he's announced, he's become more physical and his speech has become more him. It seems like he was very restricted on The Apprentice. Blue team, green team, you did a good job, but blue team, you're fired. It was kind of, he seems so big in a way.
Well, I think that on the network television show, he was using the teleprompter, and now what you see is Donald Trump out there being Donald Trump. And it comes across as genuine. It comes across as authentic. You know, even when the president makes a mistake, people say, well, you see that? He's not one of these cookie-cutter, blow-dried, phony politicians. He speaks from the heart. He speaks from the gut. He is the best instinctual politician. That's kind of an insult. He's the best instinctual political leader in my lifetime. And he doesn't rely on a giant bank of polls or focus groups to decide what to say. It's all Trump all the time. You know, his opponents in the primaries used to complain that why is he getting a disproportionate amount of the coverage? Well, as you know, John, it's because he's interesting. It's because it's because that it's real. You never know what he might say. It's not scripted. But this is now you've actually appeared as Trump in 4 feature films, which is pretty amazing. And I like this. You were an intern for my friend, U.S. Senator Arlen Specter.
Right. I spent a year doing that. Yeah. I've always had an interest. It's funny that Trump has become president. I've always had an interest in politics. The first album I ever bought was David Fry's Nixon, A 4-Year Fantasy, which I would think you might be familiar with.
I most definitely have it, yes. There's no question.
Yeah.
David Fry's
first album I ever bought.
David Fry's Richard Nixon
was incredible.
Much better than Rich Little. Not even close. Not even close.
And he was also a great writer. David Fry was an amazing comedic writer, and Gabe Kaplan was on that album with him. And his whole album was a concept album, and it was hilarious. It was just so funny and so prescient in the moment.
Well, you had the opportunity to work for Arlen Specter. I fought with him over the single bullet theory over many, many martinis.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, he would never give an inch, even though he was wrong. And he later went on and did a stand-up routine in Philadelphia. He always wanted to be a stand-up comedian when he was in the Senate. He sent to the Library of Congress for every book on stand-up comedy, read them all, and then he actually, you can find it on YouTube. He went to a club and he did a set. It was you know, it was a U.S. senator trying to be a comedian, but it's just something he always wanted to do. Well, I would
so
think.
Glad you told me that.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. It's pretty entertaining. I would think that your career will get an enormous boost when the president runs for re-election. I mean,
yeah, I would think so. When he first announced, it was kind of not a slow. I mean, since I had been doing him for so long. I had done him in so many other platforms that when he announced, I wanted to make sure that he was 100% in the race. And then right around the time he made the John McCain comment, he was going up. And I thought, well, that's interesting. It's kind of counterintuitive. And I thought to myself, if he can make it to the first debate, I'll be set for the fall, because that's how, they book out months in advance for these corporate things. And as you well know, not only did he make it to the first debate, he crushed it in the first debate and the second debate and the third debate. And then things just started taking off. And a friend of mine, Tom Shalhoub, he's still on Fox News, but he was on the show Red Eye. he brought me on. I think I did about 50, 60 appearances on Red Eye as Trump. And then because of that, I did Fox and Friends a number of times. So it was a great platform, and we did some really wonderful comedy, and then some other shows picked me up, and then voiceovers and the corporate stuff. And it's been it's pretty much taken over there's Tom right now.
Tom Shalhoub, a very funny guy in his own right. Very funny guy in his own right.
Very funny guy. Great writer, too. So we had a great run until his show, unfortunately, was canceled, but now he's on Fox Radio. So that was that really got me out there early on, and it was great it was great to do comedy with him again, because we had done it in the early 90s together.
Well, as you know, the pundits in the mainstream didn't see Trump coming, so I can see why it started slowly. They were the last people in the world who thought that he would win. What was it Jeb Bush said? You're not going to get elected president. You're not going to insult your way into the presidency. Guess what, Jeb? Wrong.
And I don't know if this is in your notes. I was on Channel 4 BBC, Matt Fuhrer. They had flown me over to D.C. I'm here in Las Vegas. They flew me to D.C. to do a story on me. And I had said at the end of the interview, he said, who do you think will win? And I said, Donald Trump in a landslide. I said, I've been on the road now for well over a year doing this character, and what I have seen, overwhelmingly, he is going to win.
All right. Thank you very much, John DiDomenico, the #1 Donald Trump impersonator on the face of the planet. Thanks for joining us here in The Alex Jones Show. You're on The Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Roger Stone. You know, there's nothing more pathetic than watching the mainstream media talking heads and the columnists and editorial writers at the Washington Post and the New York Times trying to breathe life back into the Russian collusion delusion. I mean, this piece by Nicholas Kristof is one of the most pathetic attempts to muddy the waters that I have seen. Reiterating a bunch of innocuous garbage about Trump's connections with the Russians, a $100,000 Facebook campaign that would be in a multi-million-dollar presidential campaign, tantamount to urinating in the ocean. The Donald Trump Jr. meeting, of course, Kristof never mentions that the Russian woman lawyer who met with Donald Trump Jr. and provided nothing of interest was in the country illegally, and she had no visa. He even takes a shot at me, recycling the same garbage that I specifically addressed in my sworn testimony in front of the House Intelligence Committee. Yes, my communications with Goosefer 2.0, which is now entirely public, is innocuous. It's benign, and Mr. Kristof doesn't mention that it happened almost 6 weeks after the publication of the WikiLeaks disclosures regarding Hillary Clinton. He also reiterates the same tired, hackney falsehoods that I knew about Julian Assange's a publication of John Podesta's emails in advance. I never said anything of the kind. I did know that Podesta was a bad actor because the Panama Papers, published in January of 2016, outlined his shady business dealings in Russia, the uranium deal, the gas deal, the banking deal. You didn't have to be a genius to say that he would come under scrutiny. In other words, his time in the barrel would come. Nor did I have any advanced knowledge beyond what Assange himself said about WikiLeaks' publication of Hillary Clinton's emails and other documents from the Clinton campaign. Assange said this himself in numerous interviews, but Mr. Kristof ignored all of that. Then we had this extraordinary interview with Kristof and this guy, Richard Painter, who is the ethics lawyer from the Bush administration. That's kind of like being a meat-eating vegetarian. This performance is one of the most incredible things I have ever seen. Listen to this guy blather and just keep insisting that things are true that have been completely discredited.
I want to get your reaction to Bill Kristol's tweet, because we have to separate the two. While this is unprecedented, it's ridiculous, we don't like it, it's unprofessional, what is it actually doing?
It's undermining our national security. There's classified information in this memo, and the only person who's going to benefit from it being released is Vladimir Putin. He's going to find out more about our sources and how we knew that various associates of Donald Trump were collaborating with the Russians. I mean, that's what this is about. It's going to expose our intelligence operations to the benefit of Vladimir Putin. President Trump's own Justice Department has said that the memo is misleading. His own FBI, including his own FBI director, have urged that it not be released. This is an abuse of our intelligence apparatus. Attack on our intelligence apparatus for political purposes, and the only winner is Vladimir Putin.
But is it
Americans are just disgusted.
Is it because President Trump won't mind if Vladimir Putin wins as long as he wins?
Now, there's real shrewd news analysis right there. Look, I can't believe that this guy, Richard Painter, is admitted to the bar. I can't believe that he's actually teaching law school. He continues to lie about Russian collusion. He continues to attack me, among others. There is no there, Mr. Painter. Virtually everything you're saying has been disproved. And then in the interview, both Painter and the aforementioned Nick Kristof go on to claim that Devin Nunes, the crusading and I think courageous chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, is taking money from the Russians. That's a smear. That's a lie. That's character assassination. Now you see why nobody's watching MSNBC. We've already seen Joe Scarborough soil himself with this nonsense. But these clowns, Kristof and Painter, this is really about as pathetic as it gets. I am going to be writing a piece for Infowars counterpointing Mr. Kristof's piece because it is so wrong-headed. It is so recycled. It's the same tired nonsense. You got to wonder whether Kristof, like Mike Isikoff, is being fed by deep state operatives so that his story can be used to prop up a false narrative, as the Nunes memo has told us the deep state did with Mike Isikoff of Yahoo News. The extraordinary thing here is that the other day I was talking to Michael Caputo, who has appeared here at Infowars, and this entire investigation has taken an extraordinary toll on his family. Now he has just been notified that he is going to be called back in front of the House Judiciary Committee and the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. Now, if the members of those august committees would simply read Mr. Caputo's sworn testimony before the House Intelligence Committee, they would know that they are wasting both his time and the taxpayers' money by having him come and testify. My own lawyers have been notified that the Senate Judiciary Committee will call me. Once again, I urge them to do what Mr. Kristof should have done at the New York Times. Read my sworn testimony in which I address the entire question of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. Now, when I was in the United Kingdom, I went by the tiny, cramped Ecuadorian embassy to drop off my business card for Julian Assange. No, I did not see him. I didn't ask to see him. I didn't ask for an appointment. I did this to punk the British media, indeed the mainstream media in both Britain and the United States, because they are among the leaders in continuing to promulgate this myth that Julian Assange is anything other than an honest journalist doing his job. No, WikiLeaks is not a Russian front. It's a news organization with a better track record for accuracy and authenticity than, say, the New York Times or the Washington Post. And what about the hypocrisy of celebrating this movie, The Paper, which is essentially a celebration of a courageous publication by the newspapers, the New York Times and the Washington Post, of classified information that pertained to the origins of the Vietnam War. So this is the same media that wants to prosecute Julian Assange for the publishing of classified information. Yet we're celebrating the publishing of classified information in this Hollywood epic. extraordinary. The hypocrisy doesn't end there. In the lawsuit where I am being sued with Donald Trump by a group called Project Democracy, an Obama-blessed front group, which is really just using my name to raise money, the president's lawyers from Joan Day went into court only days ago and said that there can be no conspiracy because WikiLeaks' publication of classified information, of any information, is not a crime. That's what journalists do. Well, somebody needs to tell the president's government lawyers that, because Jeff Sessions and the folks at the Justice Department are continuing in their persecution of Julian Assange. Assange is in poor health, and he has now been there, I believe, 6 years in what is a very tiny, cramped space. Don't get the idea that the embassy is opulent. In fact, Colombia and Ecuador share one embassy. It is time for the president to order the Justice Department to end the persecution of Julian Assange, or, failing that, simply pardon him for any non-existent crimes that he may have committed. He is the most valiant journalist of his time, and he is not a Russian agent. This continued insistence by John Brennan and James Clapper. Oh, you remember him. Clapper's the guy who testified under oath that we have no metadata collection program. And of course, when Edward Snowden released documents showing that that was false, Clapper paid no penalty. Where is he now? He's teaching ethics at Vermont College. I'm Roger Stone, and you're at The Alex Jones Show here at Infowars. Welcome back. I'm your host, Roger Stone, and you're on The Alex Jones Show. If you're enjoying the expansion here at Infowars, the morning news, with David Knight, the expanded war room in the late afternoons, and of course the classic Alex Jones Show, recognize that the real news and the war room are parts of Alex Jones's comprehensive plan to expand Infowars coverage, and the day will come when we're on the air around the clock. But we don't have any right-wing fat cats writing checks to subsidize the investigative journalism we do here at Infowars. We have to rely only on listeners and viewers who go to the Infowars site for the very best products of their genre. And right now, some of these prices just blow me away. My all-time favorite, Brain Force Plus, without which my entire trip to the United Kingdom would not have been possible, at 25% off. And I can also speak very highly of Immune Wall, because I had that flu that was going around. It's tough to kick. The itchy eyes, the gruff throat, and so on, the coughing, and it was really Immune Wall that put me over the top and got me back on the road to robust health. So please go to the site now and look at some of these extraordinary discounts. This is a 360 win. You help us with our expansion, and we help you with some of the very best and rigorously tested products in the marketplace. You can go to Walmart, or you can go to CVS, or you can go to Walgreens, and you can find products that say on the bottle that they do the same thing, but they use fillers, they use subgrade ingredients. You'll never find that at Infowars. So, folks, give us a hand, give yourself a hand, help make America great. Go to the Infowars store site now, please. So, joining me now is one of my favorite crusading journalists, Jack Posobiec, who is who I affectionately call Jumping Jack Flash, because he's always ahead of the mainstream media in terms of breaking news in Washington. He's got terrific sources, and he is out there every day on the ramparts, way ahead of CNN and the other fake news sites. So, Jack, tell us what's going on in Washington, and what is the drama surrounding the White House staff shuffle?
Well, Roger, what I'm hearing right now so much is, of course, the departure of Rob Porter and the handling or apparent mishandling of this story that broke in the Daily Mail of his potential, these alleged wife, domestic abuse by his 2 prior ex-wives. He resigned, and then the White House is seemingly putting out multiple stories regarding the timeline of his resignation and how it was handled by Chief of Staff John Kelly. It now seems to me that the real target of all of this was not Rob Porter, but the target seems to be to hang this as a noose for Chief of Staff Kelly and get him out of there.
Well, my sources tell me that Kelly is telling others that he's toast, so I think he's reading the handwriting on the wall. What's surprising to me is that I know Rob Porter's father, Roger Porter, served in the Bush administration. I have firsthand sources who tell me when he was at Harvard at the Kennedy School that he was roasting Donald Trump. He was belittling him. And, of course, the Porters are Bush Republicans. Makes you wonder what he was doing in the Bush White House to begin with.
Precisely. This is a guy who was not brought in from greatagain.gov, of course, that database of Trump supporter resumes, which was supposedly lost by Mr. Reince Priebus, the prior chief of staff. This was a guy who was brought in by the establishment.
Well, Reince Priebus gave us Rod Rosenstein. It appears he also gave us Rob Porter. Jack Posobiec will be back in the host chair here at the Alex Jones Show. Stay tuned.
Jack Posobiec coming to you live with this 4th hour of the Alex Jones program, taking over for the amazing, the great Roger Stone, who was hosting just prior to me. The breaking, shocking news, the situation that we're dealing with right now, the possible terrorist attack on Donald Trump Jr., his wife, Vanessa Trump, rushed to the hospital, possible exposure by a white powder substance, certainly reminiscent of the anthrax scare of 2001, immediately following the 9/11 attacks. These envelopes were sent to members of Congress, were sent to members of the Senate, were all going around Capitol Hill. There's still a special mail procedure at Capitol Hill to go and investigate envelopes because of that scare from 2001, 17 years ago, almost 17 years ago. She did, apparently, it seems that she opened the envelope, was exposed, was coughing, felt nauseous, called 911, rushed to the hospital. 2 other individuals were also reported to have been exposed to this powder. They are also being brought to the hospital because they want to make sure that everything is going to be okay, that everything is certainly going to be okay with her. The police have announced so far that they have determined that the substance was, they in their words, innocuous, an innocuous white substance. They have not come out to officially deny it was, of course, anthrax or that type of powder, but details are still coming in as we go. So we're certainly going to be keeping a very close watch on this situation. However, the one thing I want to explain to folks is that leftists now, to include even some members of the mainstream media or contributors to the mainstream media, are making jokes about this. They're laughing about this. A domestic terrorist attack or possible domestic terrorist attack on the First Family. We have here a Huffington Post writer or former writer for them is now joking that she's being brought to the hospital due to a Coke binge. This is something that she just posted, this former writer of Huffington Post on Twitter immediately after the hospitalization of the president's daughter-in-law. No idea what her health state was. No idea what was going on. But their first joke was, what's the over-under? And I'll read this. What's the over-under that it was just her Coke dealer dropping off the usual, but she did too much, and this is a cover story. So conspiracy theories. But because you'd have to be on the drugs to be married to Uday, and also they're all lying attention, that word, happy to cause distractions. So Uday, of course, a reference here to the murderous and brutal son of Saddam Hussein, Uday Hussein, a complete sociopath known for committing violent acts, sexual assaults, extreme brutality to his own citizens. And that is what they're comparing Donald Trump Jr., a patriot who has been falsely accused and falsely defamed of being a traitor to his country, to being a traitor to his father, for all of these things, for committing the cardinal sin, apparently, of supporting his father for president. This is the left, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we talk a lot about how we say, you know, one thing I read on Twitter sometimes is daily reminder that the left wants you and your family dead. Alex talks about that sort of thing all the time, and he gets attacked. Oh, now she's put up a thing saying, well, I just made a dumb Twitter joke, but you should know that they have a history of coke abuse, and you should just pretend this is not worse than the administration. I mean, she's put up a non-apology here, basically, deleted the tweet, put up a non-apology, calling it a snowflake dog whistle that is sounded as a distraction. No, Miss Dublin, the only attention that we're trying to call to is the fact that white powder was sent in an envelope opened by Vanessa Trump, the daughter-in-law of the President of the United States. It was addressed to her husband. It was addressed to her husband, Donald Trump Jr. Right, so she's saying that she's not, and you can look here at the great article on Infowars.com. She says, I'm not a contributor for Huffington Post. But then you can, and she's going back at Paul Joseph Watson. He and I were calling this out. And then you could scroll down, and here's her profile page on Huffington Post. Tara Dublin, a freelance writer, living in Portland, Oregon. So there it is. Huffington Post has her up as a contributor. Now, she might be lazy and has not contributed anything recently to the Huffington Post, and that's really on her. But the fact remains that she is a contributor to the Huffington Post, still has articles on their website, still, because we know that Huffington Post has taken down articles in the past when they didn't like their contributors. David Seaman, of course, who wrote an article about Hillary's health, was a contributor to the Huffington Post. He was that was completely deleted. It was memory hold because they didn't want anyone to be questioning Hillary during the 2016 election. So her contributor posts are still up on Huffington Post. So I really am confused. This is like, if you guys remember, not too long ago, just about a week ago, really, when a CNN contributor was making a joke about the train crash, the Republican train crash that was carrying Republicans and their families, their wives, their children, out to a retreat in West Virginia. There was a train crash, and a CNN commentator made some horrific joke about the whole thing, said that he thought it was great, didn't, basically praised it and was mocking it and making jokes. And then CNN came back and said, oh, well, he's not a contributor for us. Yet we went to the CNN website. The CNN vice president even came out and responded to me, said, Jackie, this guy is wrong. This guy isn't a contributor. We went to CNN's website. And found that he had posted, and I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I'm sorry, producers. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He had posted articles, columns on CNN within the past 2 weeks. Within the past 2 weeks, he had articles on CNN's site. Sam Stein was also out there, was putting up stuff. And yet CNN had the audacity to claim that he was not a contributor. Oh, Keith Boykin, that was the guy. Yes, Keith Boykin. He said, is this a metaphor for American politics today, right? Yet CNN said, and we found video of him talking with Anderson Cooper recently, not years ago, recently. Yet CNN told us that he was not a contributor, that he was not a commentator, even though his articles were hosted on their website, and we had video of him with, with Anderson Cooper. That would be like me saying that I have no connection whatsoever to Infowars. I certainly do. I'm here as a guest host right now, like doing the fourth hour, right? So again, this is what CNN does. This is what the left does. They lie. They simply lie. And when one of their own, notice how fast they eat their own, by the way, and how they don't stand up for each other and how they don't defend each other. The minute one of their own screws up, the minute one of their own goes over the line, they immediately throw them to the wolves. They have no backing of them whatsoever, and they even deny the fact that they had a relationship with that person, despite shocking and clear evidence to the contrary, in the form of articles hosted on their websites and in terms of videos. So this shows you who we are dealing with when it comes to the left. Their ability, seemingly endless ability to lie, to obfuscate, to spread myths, truths, and disinformation, and also to mock, to laugh at a gory, grisly situation. Of course, the first case being a train crash, the second now being a potentially fatal situation where, again, we do not know the facts at this point. They say it was an innocuous substance. They have not said what the white powder was. They have not officially, and I'm going to check as we go over the break here, I'm going to check to make sure if there are any official statements that have come out yet from from the hospital regarding Vanessa Trump. Here we go, another one saying Donald Trump. It's a pity that Don Trump Jr. didn't open it, right? That Jr. didn't open it. And this envelope, folks, I wanted to remind you, this envelope was addressed to Donald Trump Jr., a father of 5, the son of the President of the United States. This is what's going on in the United States. This is what's going on in America. This is what the left has come to in our country, right? They're celebrating about it. Again, we have no information regarding who sent it. We have no information regarding how this came out, what exactly was in the envelope. We pray, of course, we keep Vanessa Trump and Don and his entire family, all the kids in our prayers. Secret Service, whether they were involved, it seems likely that they may have also been involved in this. We pray that everyone is okay. That is who we are. Will the left apologize for their statements? And will the left join us in praying for peace and safety? Jack Posobiec, stick right here. We've got a lot more coming up on the 4th hour. Jack Posobiec coming back live here from Washington, D.C., where I sit live in our nation's swampy capital, which, of course, is currently being drained by the drainer-in-chief, President Donald John Trump. I've just received some information, some breaking information in this case. We were covering it the last segment regarding the possible terrorist attack on Donald Trump Jr., his wife, essentially being the one that opened the letter. Now, we were told it was an envelope that contained white powder. The information has now just been released that the white powder envelope addressed to Donald Trump Jr. was postmarked from Boston. So it was postmarked from Boston, and that it included an angry note. So again, for people saying that this may have just been an accident, may have been something else in there, this does appear to be either some sort of threat related to politics or some type of prank in that sense. Hopefully just a prank, but of course the situation is still being discussed. One of my sources, one of my very close sources, I've just been in touch with, they seem to indicate they think that everyone has been stabilized at the hospital right now. I'm in direct contact with a source, but I haven't been able to get the final A-OK from everyone yet. So I want to hold off on that until there is an official statement to let everybody know. It does appear that Donald Trump Jr.'s children, his 5 children, were not at home at the time, being in the middle of the day. So it seems they may have been at school when this happened. Hopefully none of them, of course, were involved. This breaking story, a lot of developments going on. Make sure to stay here because we never know. Hopefully the situation doesn't take a turn for the worse. Hopefully you can stay with us and we'll be able to report very, very soon that everything was okay, that it was just a threat. But it's possible, it's also possible that this may have been a test, that this may have been a test run to see what type of response level there would be from the Secret Service, whether or not an envelope could make it all the way through any layers of security that they have, and it clearly did in this case, to be able to be opened by not Donald Trump Jr., not the president's son, but the president's daughter-in-law, Vanessa Trump. So it seems that whatever security procedures are in place, they have been penetrated. This is a penetration of the security, the Secret Service network revolving around the Trump family, the first family, and absolutely represents a clear and present danger. Just in terms of the security breach alone, the fact that this is why, for example, if you go see Trump at a rally, if you go see the president at one of his rallies, they will tell you if you bring something, if you bring a letter, some people bring books, some people bring artwork, and they say, well, I want to give this letter to the president. And they might just be a Trump fan and say, I wrote this great letter. I want to give it to the president. Can I give it to him? You can't give that to them. It is Secret Service protocol to not accept any object, foreign object that is handed to them at a rally that does not go through testing to get to the first family, and certainly in this case, to get to the president. So again, I'm not knocking the Secret Service detail around Donald Trump Jr., his family, but it does seem that the security measures do need to be reviewed. They do need to be checked because this was a security penetration. This was what it's called. It's an infiltration of their security. Okay, it's a compromise. This is called compromise. The first family has been compromised. I was covering the story a few weeks ago as well when people were hacking the Twitter accounts of people who followed real Donald Trump on Twitter. They followed the president's Twitter account. Well, there was this group called the Turkish hacker army, and the Turkish cyber army was hacking people who Donald Trump followed. Then they were able to use those hacked accounts. Eric Bolling was one of them, Greta Van Susteren. They were able to use these hacked accounts, Sheriff David Clark, to send messages to the president through direct message, the direct message function on Twitter. Now, if he had clicked on any of the links that they sent or the photos or the videos that they had sent, he then may have downloaded malware from the Turkish cyber army, which potentially has connections to the Turkish government. It seems they're certainly very supportive of Erdogan, the president there. So the president of the United States, think about this, there would have been malware from the Turkish cyber army on the president of the United States phone, or any platform that he was using to access Twitter. Of course, he usually accesses it from his phone. Then that could have been set up as a surveillance function. That could have been set up for access into his text messages, his other direct messages with people who, and more shockingly, they could have taken control of President Trump's Twitter account. If they had taken control of President Trump's Twitter account, just imagine what they could have tweeted out that would have certainly sent the entire world into a headspin, that would have had massive implications for world security and world stability. So these are the things we are talking about. These are the cases of, essentially, and here's the article. You guys can go see if you go check out my Medium site, medium.com/Jack Posobiec, where I talked about this. I actually talked to the Turkish cyber hackers, because it turns out that they follow, some of the accounts that they hacked were people who followed me. So I sent messages to them and essentially got an interview with a few of them. They gave me their manifesto in Turkish. I had it professionally translated. I broke this story, put the exclusive out there. They are pro-Erdogan. They are against what the United States is doing. They are trying to push back on this, and they were using highly effective cyber techniques to do this. They were able to compromise the security of the United States of America. This is the issue, folks. This is the issue that came up today with this compromise on the president's son. Hopefully, not anything in terms of will come of this hospitalization of Vanessa Trump. We, of course, keep her in our prayers. So a lot of heavy stuff there, folks, a lot of heavy stuff. But I do want to take a very quick second before the segment ends and remind you that we can't do all of this for free. We can't come to you every day and break down these stories and get these exclusives out, these security compromises, these interviews, explaining what's going on, possible anthrax attacks, without your support. We need your support to do it. And that is where the Infowars Life Store comes in. That is where there's so many specials that are available right now from the Infowars store. If you go to InfowarsStore.com right now, the big, really big new product is Incurin from Infowars Life. Now, there's an introductory price on this. It's a 30-day supply that you can get. It's available for just $19.95. Now, this is a detox agent. These, and you think about it, the toxins, the diseases that find their way into our systems. It's important for us to keep our body's detox system involved, keep it up. My wife, of course, she is pregnant right now. This is a huge issue that we are taking a look at, that we are deeply involved in, and so that is why, if you look with Incurin, you finally got a formula that can support your liver, that can support your kidneys, cleaning your body, removing these dangerous toxins by promoting healthy liver function. That is one of just many great products that are coming out now in the Infowars store. This is a brand new product. The introductory price, 50% off, folks, $19.95. 30-day supply. You can try it, see if you like it. If you don't, send it back. If you do like it, you can sign up for the scheduled purchases. You can sign up for it for a whole year. That's what's available, Infowars store. So it's a 360 win. Support us and support yourself. A lot of stuff going on today, a lot of news coming out here. Washington, D.C., we're talking about the things that are going on in the White House. We're talking about the things that are going on in New York City, this possible terrorist attack against Donald Trump Jr. But there's also news from Europe, and that is something that is being completely overlooked right now in the face of this North Korean charm offensive. Of course, the propaganda being repeated by the New York Times and CNN from Kim Jong-un's sister. they're completely overlooking a lot of, and there's CNN's new logo, sort of a meme that I put up yesterday, just popped it up there. I think this is what we should call CNN's new logo as they push out their propaganda story and their propaganda friends over at North Korea. And I'd like to just take a quick second to remind everybody that who exactly this person is and what exactly it is that she supports. They're saying Kim Jong-un's sister stealing the show at Winter Olympics. They're reporting on her as if she's simply the sister of a duly elected president of a democratic country, or whether she's someone who's a senior advisor to a prime minister. No, she is the sister of a brutal, tyrannical dictator, a communist, totalitarian, genocidal maniac. And why do I say genocidal? Because I've read the stories about the Korean concentration camps that are in North Korea. Harvard University Press put this out, and I read this in a video last night. Harvard University Press put out a book called The Little Black Book of Communism. This came out several years ago, but at that point, they had estimated that over 1.5 million prisoners had died in the concentration camps of North Korea, the concentration camps that are run by Kim Yo-jong's family. People have said, Holocaust survivors have said that North Korea's prisons are even worse than the circumstances of the Nazi concentration camps like Auschwitz. They're actually saying the human experimentation that goes on in North Korea, the cremation of bodies, the brutal rape and assault of women in these prisons. And by the way, if you become pregnant, if one of these women become pregnant after being raped, they're then executed because it is against the rules to be pregnant in one of the North Korean concentration camps. This is the Holocaust of our day that's going on right now today in North Korea. Prisoners who looked like walking skeletons, logging camps in Siberia, where prisoners are kept under extreme conditions and are forced to work in these logging camps in the bitter cold. I mean, can you imagine what February in North Korea or Siberia is like right now? Unimaginable. And of course, you know that the camps where they're kept, they don't have they don't exactly have central heating or insulation or any of the different ways to keep them warm. Okay, these missile test sites that are very close up to North Korea, that missile test site there, very close to the city of Nanjing and Hamhung. So North Korea, we're talking as well about these concentration camps up there. These are the camps that Kim Yo-jong's family owns, runs, and treats the people there, the political prisoners, many of them, like slaves. If you would defect from North Korea, your entire family will be sent to one of these camps, your entire family. But the media, Reuters, New York Times, CNN, they called her a prim young woman with a high forehead and hair half swept back with quiet gazes. They described the head held high as she worked in. These are people who run concentration camps. These are slave owners, to put it in another way, in another sense. Anyone who defects, their family is immediately sent to the concentration camp, no question about it. Any female who's in almost 100% of the females in these concentration camps are sexually assaulted or raped, almost 100%. But of course, when Kim Yo-jong comes down, who is, by the way, one of the heads of the North Korean propaganda department. Okay, this is her job. Her actual job is to spread propaganda for North Korea, for their communist regime across the world. The entire media does it for her. Now, look, folks, we know why they're doing this. We know they're doing this because Kim Yo-jong and the Kim family is against Trump. And so the media thinks, well, if we're against Trump too, the left side of the media, I should say, the old media. So if we're against Trump, we should then praise the regime of North Korea and praise this representative of it. Now, you look at these cheerleaders in North Korea, the 200 cheerleaders. These are slaves, by the way. I want to make sure everyone is 100% clear when I say this. These are slaves. They are forced in there They are forced to perform these acts. If they do not perform these acts, horrific abuses will happen to them. We talked about Uday Hussein earlier today. That is what would happen to these cheerleaders. And if any of them so much as was suspected of trying to defect to South Korea, they'd be disappeared within seconds before being brought back, or upon being brought back to North Korea, which is known as the hermit regime. You know, a lot of people talk about what's to be done about the North Korean situation, whether we can use diplomacy or we have to use military force. North Korea, of course, has the 4th largest standing army in the world. That's because they put so much of their economy, so much of their country's wealth into maintaining that military, because number one, they have to keep down the people inside, and created the world's most horrific totalitarian police state, far harsher, far worse than anything you'd find out of Hollywood in terms of dystopian movies. And number two, because they know that any incursion by North Korea, by the United States, or excuse me, South Korea or the United States would lead to their downfall. So if that regime ever was under the threat, or felt that they were under the threat of collapse from either invasion by South Korea, invasion by China, as people have suggested, or a U.S. military action, there is no question that North Korea would launch their full might of their ballistic missiles on all of their enemies, to include everyone in South Korea, to include U.S. bases in Guam and Japan. Again, folks, this regime was threatening to nuke the United States about 6 months ago. It was just over the summer. They were threatening to nuke the United States, but suddenly CNN and New York Times love them. And they want to praise these people who are just threatening to nuke us and wipe our territory of Guam off the face of the map. So, and I would also like to state, though, just in regards to their nuclear arsenal, which they would certainly use, North Korea also has an extremely active chemical weapons program. Those chemical weapons would almost certainly be used within the first hours, if not minutes, of any conflict between the North and the South militarily. And we're not talking about their ICBMs, their intercontinental ballistic missiles. We're talking about SRBMs, short-range ballistic missiles. Pretty much the entirety of the country of South Korea would be within range of any one of these missiles, because, folks, we're not talking about two countries the size of the United States and China here. We're talking about two countries that are about the size of two U.S. states. This would be like the state of Ohio declaring war on the state of Indiana, right? Everything they have is right next to each other. The two capitals of Seoul and Pyongyang are extremely close to each other. So any situation that led to military conflict, we'd have to understand, we would have to accept millions dead on both sides of the border. And if we're trying to peacefully unite the peninsula, or peacefully unite it, we need to be very careful about what exactly it is that we're willing to do to get to that situation. And that's why we need to be very careful about using military force. But at the same time, we cannot allow the North Koreans to threaten us with their nuclear arsenal. Jack Posobiec talking about very complex North Korea issues and the media's complete capitulation to communist propaganda. The Walter Duranty Award is certainly up for grabs, and I think CNN is going to get it. Come back. We've got one more segment left here on the big 4th hour of Infowars. Jack Posobiec here live, breaking down the final segment of the 4th hour here. Alex Jones Show, Infowars.com. Real quick, before I break down this segment, I wanted to remind you guys about the huge specials that are available for sale right now at Infowars Store, Infowarsstore.com. We're running out of time to keep giving you these incredible specials. The combo packs, they're not going to last long. New products are quickly running out of stock. So make sure to pick some of it up, these great sales today, before it's too late. Now, we've got the iCurin, an introductory sale of 50% off. Followed by, of course, Cellforce. We know about Cellforce. It's now 53% off. Then there's also the Infowars Life Daily Digestive Pack. That's the Carnivore and Flora Life. It's 50% off. Just in time for Valentine's Day, of course, there's the Infowars Life His and Hers Pack of Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality, just in time for Valentine's Day. 40% off. What a great gift for you and your significant other, whether that be your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, etc. Then there's the InfoWars Life Mind and Body. So that's the Brain Force Plus and Vitamin Mineral Fusion. Again, folks, 40% off if you go right now to the InfoWars store to purchase this package. And then finally, Pollen Block. Pollen Block is available for an additional 50% off. So these are the huge sales, the combo packs, the iCurin, the Cell Force, the Pollen Block. Folks, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up. And honestly, what better gift could you give than the gift of telling your significant other that you love them and you want them to be healthy? And so I would urge you to check out the store, see if there's any of these specials that are right for you. And who knows? Everybody would love a Valentine's Day gift from the InfoWars store. Isn't that right? So I wanted to talk, break down an issue out of Europe right now that's going on that's not getting a lot of press. However, it has to do with Russia. And that's kind of what struck me as so surprising, because Russia has led the headlines for any other story that's going on right now. Did you know that Russia is building another pipeline to Germany, another pipeline directly to Europe? Now, you'd think, wait a minute, I keep hearing about Russia all day long from these Democrats in the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House. Why aren't they saying anything? Why aren't they saying a word about this pipeline? Jack, are you fake news? No, right here. Germany has just granted the pipeline permits. Okay, so they need to get permits to build this thing out. It's a connection between Moscow and Brussels, essentially, with the European Union, really Moscow and Berlin, with Merkel's government. Putin is getting his way with this pipeline. This is completely set. It's called the Nord Stream 2, excuse me, not Nordstrom. Nord Stream 2 is built through the Baltic Sea, and it's going to be a Gazprom-run line connecting a natural gas transfer from Russia into Germany. So I want to remind folks that just because Merkel is out there all day long talking about Russia, saying that, and we've got the map of it here for you all to see, it goes right through the Baltic there, bypassing Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, and then back into directly into Germany. Even though Merkel and these Democrat leftists say they're so anti-Putin, she still is stuck on natural gas, and still the political ramifications of her not supporting this huge pipeline deal with Russia, I don't think would be enough for her party or her newly formed coalition to be able to go through it with anything. They would absolutely be run out of town, because if people don't understand this, that the price of gas, the price of just going to fill up your car in Europe is so much. So that's why they're even willing to turn over to the Russians, turn over to Putin to get this out, regardless of knowing that any chance Putin wants, he can simply turn off that switch and he can simply cut it off. So imagine the leverage now that Russia is going to have over Putin. And there's a lot of people saying that, is Russian gas good for America? Well, one thing that I would point out is that America, in many ways, is becoming energy independent and actually a net exporter of energy under the Trump administration. So many American states now, to include Pennsylvania, my home state, are actually exporting energy from natural gas, from fracking that's going out across the world. But these are the same Democrat senators that are usually saying we need to stand up to Russia, we need to stand up to Putin. But when it comes to an actual situation where Russia is cutting into a potential exporter for our energy, right? So we're going to become net energy exporter by 2022, which will be hopefully during Trump's second term. We're on that pace. So why are the Democrat senators who are normally so up in arms about Russia not saying a single word about Russia building this pipeline, which could go to a potential customer, a potential market for American energy? Folks, this is the type of situation that President Trump has been talking about for 30 years. For 30 years, saying that other countries are laughing at us, the way we get treated, the way we get screwed out of deals, the way we don't understand what's really going on in the world. We pay attention to these phony Russia collusion allegations, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, Russia is building a pipeline to Germany, and our companies, our states that are trying to get their newfound natural gas out of the country, that are trying to find more export markets for it, are being shut down because Russia is beating us. Now, of course, Russia's a lot closer, but you'd think that there would be some pressure from the U.S., at least diplomatically, to say, hey, wait a second, think of the security implications, the national security, international security implications of signing such a crucial natural resource agreement with the Kremlin. But it's not to be found. So Rex Tillerson, the U.S. Secretary of State, said something about it. He gave a speech recently. The government of Poland gave a huge speech urging Germany not to do this. But where's the U.S. ambassador to Germany on all of this? Has anyone heard about the U.S. ambassador to Germany on all this? Oh, wait, that's right. We don't have a U.S. ambassador to Germany. And why is that? Well, because Richard Grenell, who was approved to be nominated by the House, by the Senate, it's been refused to come up for a confirmation vote by Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. So we've got Richard Grenell, who is an extreme patriot, a huge Trump supporter. He happens to be a gay Republican, so this would be Trump's first gay ambassador and possibly our first openly gay ambassador. I'd have to look that one up. So why are they holding him up? Why is Chuck Schumer holding him up? Why won't he allow this to happen? We just heard about Berlin's CIA as well, this massive corrupt spying scheme that had gone on, where essentially CIA agents were paying Russians, saying that they were going to get these naked pictures of Trump, naked video of Trump, and a bunch of NSA tools. And the guy handed over and said he didn't actually have any of that. This Russian agent completely trolled them. He trolled them, folks. He allowed them to be able to give them $100,000 and said, and they were working on their way towards $1 million in terms of our CIA giving this guy money. He didn't actually have any of these secrets. He didn't have any pictures of Trump, any video of Trump. He didn't have anything other than publicly available documents. So the CIA paid this guy $100,000, and he handed them a copy of the Trump dossier and said, see, look what I've got. Now, if you guys just give me $100,000 more, I'll give you better information. You just keep paying me, and the more you pay me, I'll get more money. Folks, I think anybody can realize what's going on there. This is a guy who was trying to make a buck and realized that he could dupe our intelligence agencies because of the fact he was Russian and because of all the Russia hysteria out there, and he got $100,000 for it. Now, that operation went down in Germany. Had it been done in Germany, that means that the U.S. ambassador would have had oversight of it. But we don't have a U.S. ambassador. We don't have Richard Grenell there supporting our U.S. policies, supporting U.S. diplomacy, whether it's helping our states find an export market for our natural resources that we want to sell, this energy that we want to sell to actually bring money back into our country after we've used the energy, of course, for ourselves, our own resources. This is what we're talking about, unleashing the American economy, unleashing the untapped potential of America. But again, because of politics, because of Chuck Schumer, and to an extent Mitch McConnell, for not getting Richard Grenell, and again, he's ready to go. He's ready to be in there. He's ready to serve day one. Day one. He will get on a plane and fly to Berlin the moment you tell him. Pass that today. Get him over there. Have him sort out the situation with our state, with our mission to Berlin, our diplomatic mission to Berlin, whether it's this pipeline diplomacy, these Putin pipeline politics, or the CIA operation selling these fake, buying these fake secrets from Russia. Jack Posobiec, I'm throwing my hands at the whole thing. I'm throwing my hands up in the air because I'm throwing my hands up about the whole thing. Get Richard Grenell in there. Follow me on follow me on Twitter, Jack Posobiec, twitter.com/POSOBI.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones, who claims that 9/11 and the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs. I don't know what happens in somebody's mind or how dark their heart must be to say things like that.
The Russians ran an extensive information war campaign against my campaign to influence voters in the election. And then they began to weaponize them. And they began to have some of their allies within the internet world, like Infowars, take out pieces and began to say the most outrageous, outlandish, absurd lies you can imagine.
But Trump doesn't challenge these lies. He actually went on Jones's show and said, "Your reputation is amazing. I will not let you down."
Waging war on corruption. It's Alex Jones coming to you live from the front lines of the Infowar.
The globalists are losing, but they're doubling down their attacks. There's one thing they fear, and it's people power. Infowars has defeated their censorship so far only because of you spreading the links, spreading the articles, subscribing, clicking the notification buttons, and getting the articles and videos out. But they are intensifying their censorship, so now it's more important than ever to ensure we keep the First Amendment alive and well right here in America and free speech worldwide. So from Australia to countries in Africa, to Europe, to Mexico, to right here in the USA, I salute you all for taking action and defending free speech. We will prevail. You know, I've got some talking points here about Caveman from InfoWarsLife.com. But instead of going with those talking points, let me just give you what I've experienced personally. From all the wives' tales in every culture, we know that the bones have the essence. We know chicken noodle soup is great for people that are sick. Again, in every culture, this has been reported because it works. And there's no way to quantify how strong this is, but the amount of bone protein and the amount of marrow and the amount of concentrated life force that is in this is incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, whether it's for your joints, whether it's for your arteries and your veins, whether it's for your brain, whether it's for energy, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the strongest, most concentrated bone broth formula out there, and it's amazing. Find out for yourself today at InfoWarsStore.com what it can do for you and your family. And again, I want to thank you all for your support. You are funding the information war in 2018.